William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Spotting a murderer isn't easy. They don't help. They can be anyone, any age, either sex, rich, poor, or in between. They've got one difference, though. They kill people.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. Lots of people shy away from going to a privatized office. I guess they figure it isn't respectable. I guess when you spend a couple of minutes thinking about it, they're right. It isn't respectable. Because it's a confession that something's wrong with their lives. And what's wrong is rarely a bookkeeping error or a mistake in spelling.
You don't care for the hamburger, Craig?
Huh? Oh, the hamburger's fine, Willie.
Then stop looking at it like it was still alive.
I wouldn't worry about it.
No?
No. Even if it was still struggling, your coffee would kill it.
What's the matter with the coffee you get at Willie's Wagon?
Nothing. I'm sure you use only the finest grade of sulfuric acid in it.
You got a tender stomach?
I doubt it. I'm still alive.
Yeah, fine type of customer I get here. Wise guys. Wise guys? Look at your hamburger. She ain't in your price class.
Who? Oh, say, he could be right.
That fur she's dragging around was contributed by only the highest type minks.
You'd better wait on her. She might get impatient.
I can't.
Huh?
I ain't had a manicure in weeks.
You are Mr. Craig.
I am?
I waited outside the building in which you have your office until you left. I followed you here.
You're allergic to offices?
Well, I couldn't... do you mind talking business here?
Would you like something to eat or drink?
No.
Willie, go polish your coffee iron.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Well, it don't need it.
You're,
Viola Henning. Mrs. Viola Henning.
Uh-huh. And the business you wanted to talk about was...
My husband is keeping an appointment tonight, and I want you to... Well, to...
An appointment with whom? A business associate?
No. With a girl. A girl named Muriel.
I see. Where?
The Grammont Hotel.
She works there?
No. She's taken a room there. I overheard my husband making the appointment.
I don't especially go for divorce cases.
Oh, no, it isn't for that. I'd never divorce Dan. I just want to know.
What time's the appointment?
8.
And all you want to know is if your husband, in fact, does keep this appointment.
Yes. Would $100 be enough?
Oh, more than enough.
Then here you are.
Thanks.
You won't tell anyone.
Investigators with loose mouths don't last very long, Mrs. Henning.
I suppose not. I'll phone you in the morning.
Fine.
Good night.
Good night. Yeah.
For that, you need a license?
Huh?
The babe and the minks.
Just a case, Willie, on the face of it.
The face wasn't bad.
No, but what's underneath? I killed some time with Willie. His feeling is he's a very good gin player. I won enough hamburger for half a dozen cases of acute indigestion and then went on to the Hotel Grammont. I let the clerk in on my little secret. I told him I was looking for a maiden aunt. For $5, he believed me. I found a Muriel who'd booked a room at 8 o'clock. The full name was Muriel Jones. Jones. The room number was 807. The time was 20 minutes after 8. I decided I'd be the boy bringing the ice water. Maybe they hadn't ordered ice water. That would be all right. I didn't have any with me. I lifted my hand to knock, and I didn't get around to it. The door was locked. Nothing happened after the shot, so I knocked after all. Maybe I was naive, but kicking the door in didn't seem practical. I turned out to be right.
Mr. Craig!
Hello, Mrs. Henning. Mind if I come in?
No.
girl lying on the floor. Her eyes were open, and they stared up at the ceiling of the room. It wasn't a very interesting ceiling, but that didn't matter. She wasn't seeing it. Dead. Who was she?
Muriel, the girl I told you.
Yeah. Except you didn't mention you were also planning on showing up here.
I couldn't help it. I had to see her.
She isn't much worth looking at right now. 2-room suite. That the back door?
I don't know.
Yeah. Back door and fire stairs. What else couldn't you help, Mrs. Henning?
You don't have to be so indirect, Mr. Craig.
That means what?
I killed her.
Uh-huh. What's her name?
Muriel. Muriel Jones.
No.
Why do you say no?
That dress she's wearing. Too good for a hotel like this.
That's the only name I knew her by.
Those gloves you're wearing.
They're for driving. Well, that is, I wore them so that I wouldn't leave fingerprints.
It doesn't explain why you didn't use that back door to get out of here after you shot her.
I changed my mind about hiding my guilt.
Tell me how you killed her. Start outside in the hallway. You came to the door, you knocked.
Yes.
She opened the door.
When I came in, she shut the door. She didn't know who I was. I told her.
She liked that?
It didn't seem to matter to her. I accused her of taking my husband from me. She laughed at me. So I shot her.
You had a gun?
Yes.
You shot her. She fell down and died. You heard me knock. You hesitated, then you opened the door.
Yes.
I've had time to look around the room. Now, I've looked.
What difference does that make?
You say you shot her.
I did.
What did you do with the gun? Eat it? Mrs. Henning didn't have any answers. I found a phone and let her notify Homicide that she'd been out hunting. I left her in that hotel room with the dead girl. Both of them would wait. The butler at the Henning home didn't seem delighted to see me. I think it was my tie bothered him most. I figured if I ever wanted to visit again, I'd get it hand-painted.
Johns tells me your name is Craig.
Johns tells you the truth, Mr. Henning.
Yes. Well, what...
I'm a confidential investigator. I could show you credentials.
Oh, there's no reason to waste them on me. What can I do for you?
Is your wife in?
My wife? Why, yes, she's upstairs asleep.
Asleep? It's a little early for that, isn't it?
I don't see how that's any of your concern.
I guess you don't. Would you mind asking her to come downstairs?
I most certainly would.
I'm afraid you'll have to anyway.
I don't see why.
You're not curious enough about why a private detective is calling?
I'm merely assuming that you'll inform me sooner or later.
Let's say for the time being that it's because your wife hired me to do a job for her.
What job?
The information is confidential.
I refuse to believe
That's silly. All you have to do is ask your wife.
Well, yes, but...
Or are you afraid to?
I resent...
Don't bother resenting. Check with your wife. If she doesn't want to come down, you can throw me out.
Well, all right.
I didn't know exactly what made him go through with it. Maybe it was because his tie was already hand-painted.
Mr. Craig?
Yeah?
My wife isn't feeling very well. She can't come down.
Uh-huh. When did you see Muriel Jones last?
Jones?
Let's just leave it at Muriel. We'll discuss last name some other time.
We won't discuss it at all.
You're not very big. I could push you aside and go upstairs.
You wouldn't do that.
Oh, you're not sure of that. So when did you see Muriel last?
Well, why not ask the lady?
Oh, there's a technical difficulty. She's dead.
She's what?
Dead.
You're quite serious?
It's not a good subject to joke about.
Well, how did she...
She was murdered.
Oh. Well, who would want to kill her?
That might depend on who she really was.
Her name was Muriel Carter. She sang at the Bright Star. Her voice was very beautiful.
She's still dead.
I find that hard to believe. She had such a rare quality.
It didn't stop the murderer.
She was, in her way and in our time, a lovely princess.
I've heard of the Bright Star. It's run by a man named Thompson. He's short, fat, and greedy. As far as I know, he doesn't hire princesses.
Now, what do you mean by that? She sang for Thompson, that's all.
And what did she do for you?
I think you'd better get out.
I'd like to, except I've got a client. I'm in the middle, whether I like it or not. I could say I don't like it, but what good would that do? Did you keep your appointment at the Grammont Hotel tonight?
That's none of your... I had no appointment tonight.
It might pay you to keep in touch with your wife. Good night, Henning.
Good night.
Your wife, who's upstairs and not very well.
Yes?
By this time, she's also downtown having a conversation with the district attorney. Did I say good night? Mr. Henning's face over the hand-painted tie wasn't very nice to look at. I stopped looking at it, climbed into my car, and got away from there. It took me a while to notice the black coupe on my tail. When I did, I decided I didn't like it. Halfway down a block, I swung my car across the road and got out. The car tailing me burned brake lining and managed to pull up.
Hey, get that car out of my way.
What was that?
I said get that car out of my way.
Maybe you'd better help me. Get out.
You a wise guy something? You're blocking traffic.
What traffic?
Okay, wise guy, I'll get out.
That's better.
Hey,
You're looking for me?
Let go of my arm. Who do you think you are?
Who do you think I am?
Okay. Now maybe you won't be so smart.
That's a nice gun. Got a license for it?
You in the license business?
No, but... Hey! I'll borrow it. Thanks.
You can't.
Who put you on my tail?
I don't know what you're talking
Who
about.
put you on my tail?
You'd like to know, wouldn't you? Hey, you can't get away with beating me up.
Am I going to beat you up?
Then let go.
Actually, I don't know. I could.
Look, it won't get you no place.
I'm not going anyplace. I've got lots of time for you.
Let go of me, will you?
How can I? I'm trying to decide.
Decide what?
Whether to beat you up or not.
You got my gun. You're bigger than I am.
That's right, so maybe you better tell me. Who put you on me?
Mac Thompson.
Thompson? Gentleman who runs the Bright Star, huh? Pull your car over to the curb. We'll ride in mine. I kind of need a star in my life, especially a bright star. His name was Lester. He wasn't very brave without a gun. Gunmen rarely are. He pulled his car over to the curb, got into mine, and we went to the Bright Star. We didn't disturb the customers. We used a back entrance, the kind of entrance I was accustomed to. Private investigators don't rate socially.
This here's Mr. Thompson's office.
Don't knock.
Mr. Thompson.
Lester, what are you doing here?
He's trailing me. He trailed me right into your office, Thompson.
I had a little trouble with him. He's got my gun.
Indeed. And you'd be,
Craig. Barrie Craig.
Oh, a boy with a license. I might mention that Lester has a license for that gun of his, too.
Makes it nice for the city taxes.
You, could get into trouble taking his gun, Craig.
He could get into worse trouble pointing it at people.
Oh, he threw his weight around, Mr. Thompson.
All right, get out, Lester.
Okay, only you ain't sore at me, Mr. Thompson. I couldn't help it.
Get out.
Yeah, Mr. Thompson. Yeah.
Lester isn't a very strong character.
I wasn't a character analysis of Lester that brought you here, Craig.
No.
Now, I don't want any trouble with you. I don't think you want any with me. I have a friend or two in the department.
That's nice.
That license you own has to be renewed every year.
Now you're frightening me.
I have no intention to, merely making things clear.
Thanks. Now, would you make it clear why you put Lester on my tail?
I didn't. He misunderstood his instructions.
Uh-huh. How was Muriel's act tonight?
Muriel?
Muriel Carter.
She didn't appear tonight.
Why not?
Well, you know how these things are.
I don't. Thompson, where were you around 8:15 tonight?
Here, reading a good book.
How many witnesses?
4, 8. How many would you like?
You've got a large payroll.
Thank you. Now that you've stopped imitating a detective, what happened at 8:15 tonight?
Muriel Carter quit the Bright Star.
You practicing to be a theatrical agent?
2 bullets hit her.
Oh? How sordid.
Not to mention fatal. You know something? I'd like to have the gun those bullets came out of.
At 8:15 tonight, I was here reading a good book. 8 witnesses, Craig.
That ought to be enough. Thompson.
Yes?
I don't believe the performance.
I beg your pardon?
You're playing it too tough, too straight.
Which means?
I think you went for her.
That may be true. It's a habit of mine.
I've seen her. More than habit, Thompson. She was worth a gross of your ordinary stock.
Possibly. So I'm all broken up inside by the news.
It wasn't news. Why was Lester staked out at the Henning home?
Good night, Mr. Craig.
I'm still looking for that gun. Good night. The hallway outside Thompson's office had run out of lights. It was dark, and I headed for the floor quick, but halfway down, I found out it wasn't entirely my own idea. You get knocked unconscious, and it's dull for a while. Because you're unconscious. But after a while, things change. Something began to pound. It must have taken me 20 minutes to discover it was my own head. I lifted it off the ground, and the air smelled good, which meant I'd traveled. There were trees around and the sky. From which handful of facts I deduced I was out in the country. The gun someone had been careful to put in my hand was still warm. I got to my feet and crossed over to him. He was lying a dozen feet away. Dying hadn't improved his looks any. Lester was very dead. It wasn't a frame-up especially. It wouldn't stick. But it did help use up time. Time? For what? Headquarters had a nice green lamp burning outside.
The trouble with hanging around police headquarters is you can't ever lock the front door.
Hello, Lieutenant Rogers.
Anybody comes in. Even... Hold on a minute while I look around and whisper. Even private detectives.
Some fun.
Barrie, you're not your usual blithe and buxom self.
No background.
If you start dragging in my college degree...
Hide your Phi Beta Kappa key and send a couple of your boys out to my car.
There's something different about your car tonight?
Yeah. I've got a corpse in it.
Oh, Ducky. Anybody I know?
I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, say, Trav, I'd like to talk to Mrs. Henning.
I've seen her. I'd like to talk to her, too.
What?
The district attorney didn't care for her confession. She didn't have a gun to go with it. So he threw her out.
How long ago?
An hour, maybe. Why?
I want to talk to her.
You're keeping it on a very high moral plane. Barrie, why do you think she confessed to the killing?
Maybe because she loved her husband. I understand it happened.
It must be something special.
Sure. Wears hand-painted ties. So long, Trav.
Would you like company? I talk very politely.
Forget it. I'll be back later. Maybe I'll even tell you about the corpse you've got. My head didn't feel too good. Maybe I was wrong. I'd find out. The Henning house was dark when I got to it. I didn't worry about the butler much. It turned out that I didn't have to. The front door was open. The skating rink they used for a foyer was dark, but a line of light under the door down the hall told me where I wanted to go. Nobody noticed my low bow as I went through the door.
Oh, Mr. Craig!
Which way?
The window.
Caught a tail light going around the corner outside. There's nothing special about a tail light. I was late. Mrs. Henning. She fainted. It was a break for her. She could stop looking at her husband. As for him, maybe he was looking at something, but it wasn't anything a pair of living eyes could see. Lieutenant Rogers, homicide. Trav? Barrie. I'm at Mrs. Henning's home. Yeah. It also used to be Mr. Henning's home, but he won't be living here anymore. He's moving into smaller quarters. Underground. Take it easy, Mrs. Henning. You've got lots of time to settle down with your husband's death.
It isn't possible.
It's possible. It happens all the time.
But who could have done...
That's for later. You wouldn't want to confess to this murder, too, would you?
How can you say things like that?
Practice. I need a little information quick. The truth, maybe. What happened at the Grammont Hotel? For real.
The hotel? I got there after Dan did. From the hallway, I could hear him and that girl quarreling. And then the shots. I wanted to run, but I went in. Dan wasn't there, but... Oh, I can't go on with this.
You don't have to. Just hang around and greet the cops, huh? No matter how many times you've seen the dead, they still don't appeal to you, even with hand-painted ties. I concentrated on the furnishings. They were nice. They weren't the kind of stuff you buy if you're a private investigator. I stopped being morbid and just waited for the cops. They came.
I brought a few friends along, Barrie. Do you mind?
I don't mind, Tran.
I was worried. Where's the object of our affections?
Over near the window.
I hope he hasn't left. He hasn't left. Boys, make with the routine, huh? Wouldn't he cash a check for you?
I'm not killing people this week.
Mrs. Henning?
No. Henning was shot from outside the window. Mrs. Henning was in the room when I arrived and heard the shots.
That's nice. Maybe it's the perfect crime.
Maybe. Mrs. Henning's in her bedroom. I imagine she'll wake up if you knock. So long.
And where, if I'm not too inquisitive, would you be going?
You're too inquisitive.
Barrie!
Don't worry about it. All I'm doing is looking for a star to hitch a wagon to. A death wagon. I figured Mr. Thompson wouldn't be expecting action very quick. I'd been lucky, or maybe it was just because my head was so hard. I'd come to after the sapping in a hurry. I'd been in a hurry since then. I was still in a hurry.
Who is it?
I didn't build that door very strong.
Craig,
Craig. Hello, Thompson.
you wrecked that door.
I'm too stupid to knock.
Hold it where you are.
What a nice big gun you've got, Grandma.
I said stop.
Okay. I'm up against your desk anyway. Nice hunk of mahogany.
What do you want?
You.
Look, I'm in no mood.
This isn't comedy. I want you for murder, Thompson.
Why don't you come and get me?
I will if I have to.
You under the impression you're bulletproof?
I'm glad you reminded me. Very nice hunk of mahogany. Pity it got in your way. I hadn't hit him very hard. He came to after a while, and we went down to headquarters.
Barrie, where?
Did I go after Henning died? I went to collect Mr. Thompson here. He's going to stay for a while.
You might mention a few charges.
Sure. Murder. Murder of a man named Lester. Murder of a man named Dan Henning. Good enough?
Very good. Any objections, Thompson?
No objections. I killed Lester. He was a weak character. Craig made a point of it. He was tying me in too tightly.
The boy's got good grammar.
I'm appreciating it. How about Henning? Why kill him?
Because he murdered Muriel. You didn't know her, did you? He murdered Muriel. And even now, with me where I am, I can almost figure it's worth it. You see, I did know her.
I left Thompson with Lieutenant Rogers. Maybe, according to his own bookkeeping, he'd been right. I'd seen Muriel Carter and was willing to give him an outside doubt. My job wasn't finished, though. I had a final report to make to my client.
Mr. Craig,
Yeah. Mind if I come in?
I don't think I'll ever mind anything anymore. Come in.
Thank you.
The police are gone. They took Dan.
You better sit down.
Yes, hadn't I?
You hired me. I've got to finish things up.
Things? What things? I didn't know there was anything left.
Oh, nothing important, but... Mrs. Henning, did your husband ever wear driving gloves?
No.
Or any other kind?
No, he didn't.
Thompson's been arrested. Thompson's the man who killed your husband.
Oh? Well, that won't help Dan, will it?
No. Thompson was in love with Muriel Carter.
He had company.
The only thing is, Thompson wasn't the one who killed Muriel.
I know. What does it matter?
That confession you handed me at the hotel didn't make very much sense without the gun.
That's what the district attorney said.
The cops found the gun.
Did they?
It belonged to your husband. They found his prints on it. Very clear prints.
Why bother?
Too clear.
Too clear, Mr. Craig?
That's right.
But
A man fires a gun, the prints tend to be smudged a bit from handling. But suppose a gun is wiped clean. Then the man's fingers are carefully pressed on the handle. Then you'd have his prints, but they'd be too clear.
I never knew that.
I guess you didn't.
Why are you telling all this to me?
You're my client. Your husband didn't wear gloves. The police give a murder suspect the paraffin test. Matter of routine. You see, when a man fires a gun, small powder particles are embedded in the skin.
Oh?
Your husband hadn't fired a gun recently.
Well, but... Look, I'm tired. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. With Dan dead, they've got his murderer. Why did they make all these tests?
Well, I suggested it. Because Muriel Carter was registered at the Grammont Hotel as Muriel Jones.
She was ashamed.
A club singer? Working for a man like Thompson?
She was going to meet Dan.
No. She didn't take that room for romance. She took it for a meeting with you.
This is so confusing.
You were jealous. You hated Muriel Carter. You arranged that meeting at the Grammont Hotel. You suggested she register under an assumed name. It would look shadier that way.
Shadier? To whom?
Me, the private detective you hired in good faith.
Oh.
You let your husband know about the meeting. That's why he was there. That's why he took the gun away with him. That's why he lied to me later, said you were upstairs sleeping.
That isn't why
Excuse me, I should have said how. The why was because he may have loved you once. You made your confession, nobody believed. Thompson figured your husband for the killer and killed him in turn. But there was something wrong. The paraffin test showed your husband hadn't killed Muriel Carter.
Then who did?
I'm a funny kind of investigator, Mrs. Henning. Most guys in my business get cynical. They wouldn't believe you if you told them the time, unless you had 39 witnesses and a testimonial from your neighborhood church.
And you?
Oh, I'm different. I always believe a client. That's why we better get started, Mrs. Henning.
We're going...
Downtown, headquarters, where they'll put you under arrest for murder. One way and another, the evidence is all there. You see, when you made that confession in the hotel room, I believed you. Good night, folks. See you next week.
You have been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, Fatal Appointment, was written by Lou Vittis. Next week, it's the strange story titled The Deadly Fight, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week, I meet a widow who can't find tears, an obituary notice in search of a corpse, and a boxing champ whose biggest win is a fight strictly off the record. See you next week, folks.
Featured in the role of Viola was Joan Alexander. Barrie Craig, starring William Gargan, was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Three chimes mean good times on NBC. Thursday evening on NBC, enjoy comedy with Robert Young as he tries to convince the rest of the family that, without a doubt, Father knows best. Then lovely Rosemary Clooney is guest vocalist with Guy Lombardo and the orchestra on Your Hit Parade. And for high adventure, join Mr. Keene, tracer of lost persons, as he investigates the alcoholic bride murder case. Then Saturday, it's the Camel Caravan with Vaughn Monroe and his orchestra. Now enjoy Meredith Wilson's Music Room on NBC.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
The fellow in the driver's seat is always much better off, folks, especially if it's the morgue wagon.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig. confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. A thing that defeats a confidential operator is his heart. I don't mean the wear and tear that comes of chasing creeps around the landscape. Heart. Mean the way you get involved emotionally with a case or a client. Like a doctor gets involved with a patient or fights not to. The human angle. You go for it with a tear in your eye and a throb in your throat. And you're no longer working for a fee. No, sir, you're a dedicated sucker, like I was in the case of Boxer Doyle, a ring champ of his day. My first introduction to the strange Boxer Doyle story began in the Times Square Penny Arcade. I'd stopped in for 2 bits worth of practice on the rifle range. And so I could check on whether a punchy-looking guy in an Eisenhower jacket had been dogging it after me, as I suspected he was. The Eisenhower jacket was watching my marksmanship, all eyes. I can shoot okay, huh, friend?
Yeah, bullseye every time.
There's a fly squatting on your ear. Watch how I do.
I said you were good. You don't have to prove anything.
46th and Park, then west of Broadway, then south to here. Why so attached to me, friend?
I was making up my mind.
About?
Whether you were the guy for the job, Craig.
And?
I'm throwing my business your way. Lay down the rifle, I'll tell you.
I can't wait to hear.
It's only an hour's work, nothing complicated, everything on the up and up.
So much for the preamble.
You represent me confidentially in an auction sale at the Phoenix Galleries tonight.
What am I bidding on?
A diamond belt that once belonged to Boxer Doyle when he was welterweight champ. Mrs. Doyle's put it up for sale. I want it.
Why?
Sentiment. Boxer Doyle's been one of my heroes.
You can still bid on it yourself.
You don't want the job?
How much can I be losing?
500.
High pay for an hour's work.
Get me the diamond belt.
What's the ceiling, Mr.
Bid up to 5,000 if you have to.
And if I'm outbid?
I don't think so. It's been appraised at only 1,500.
Sentiment is expensive.
Come to a side. I'll count you out the dough.
Sentiment wearing a fancy price tag. I sat in at the Phoenix Galleries. There wasn't too much bidding competition.
I'm bid $2,000, ladies and gentlemen, for the diamond belt. $2,000. Going once, going twice.
2,500.
2,500. I'm bid 2,500. Bid lively, please. 2,500. Going once, going twice. Are there any more bids? Fair warning. Sold to...
Craig. Barrie Craig. I turned the belt over to Mr. Mooney, collected my 5 bills, and wrote them off as a sentimental screwball. A weird deal, kind of, but legitimate on the face of it. So why push my imagination? Another day, another dollar, I figured it. That is, until Lieutenant Trav Rogers popped into Ronzini's pizzeria to drop a poison pellet in my minestrone soup.
How's the soup, Craig?
9 parts water, 1 part can, as usual.
A bowl of minestrone, Tony. Mind company, Craig?
The eats are public. Just don't jostle my elbow.
I never do when a man's eating soup.
Police protocol?
Emily Post.
No.
I came across an interesting item in the morning paper.
There are Iranians in Iran.
Back page, where they put the fellas in oddities. I'm reading. Diamond belt, once presented to Boxer Doyle by the Sports Writers Award Committee, was sold by the Phoenix Auction Galleries by order of Mrs. Boxer Doyle. The belt was purchased by Barrie Craig, whose successful bid was $2,500. You spend money, Craig.
What's money for?
Same morning paper. An inside page now. A muckraking column titled Sports Topics. I'm reading. Memo to the police. The auctioning of Boxer Doyle's diamond belt at the Phoenix Galleries last night prompts an old question. What did happen to Doyle? And who's covering up why? Who'd you buy that belt for, Craig?
Why such a guess?
You're not rich enough. Or sentimental enough.
It's confidential, sorry.
Think again.
And eat soup?
Boxer Doyle disappeared years ago. Dropped out of sight, dropped out of the world. The police handled it as a missing persons case. We got nowhere. Now, this business of the belt might be the first significant development in the sticker we've long given up on.
You can hope.
I want to ask your client about his expensive interest in the Boxer Doyle diamond belt, just on the chance.
I'll ask him.
Now, Craig.
I owe him that much discretion, Trav. I'll ask him, then you ask him. I went to ask Mooney. A flea-bitten hotel in the East 20s where the desk clerk looked like he was dying to frisk you before letting you climb the stairs. Room 4A. I'd been there before, delivering the belt.
Craig, you forgot something?
Yeah, a footprint. I must have left it somewhere on the rug.
Pick it up and go.
Go where you're going?
You use your eyes a lot.
I'd be blind not to see your suitcases packed and ready.
I'm moving downstairs. 4th floor's too high up. I get nosebleeds in altitude. You're going to turn out to be a pest.
I am?
Look, you've been paid.
Generously. No quarrel.
Then ring off. Go look for your next job.
This thing keeps building, and I've got my next job. Mysteries fascinate me.
I made a mistake throwing work your way. Craig, what do you want?
Answers. What's your real interest in the missing Boxer Doyle?
I'm only interested in this belt.
Standing pat on your story, huh?
People collect General Grant's platoons and John L. Sullivan's gloves. You've got a personal hero.
And you're crazy sentimental. Okay, then. Let's go.
That sounds like police headquarters.
I promised you to a lieutenant if I got nowhere. You object?
You tell me.
You object. How'd you do it? Sleight of hand?
I ought to kill you.
Good you're fighting the impulse.
You park here while I move downstairs. When you come to, Craig, change your thinking.
I'll make a sincere effort.
I won't turn the gun around the next time.
There was no use trying to change my thinking. When I came to, the only thought in my head was how to get out of a locked closet. Get out before I died of suffocation. At headquarters, Trav Rogers was overjoyed at the lump on my head.
Craig, the violence means something.
My aching head.
It means there's life in a case that's been in the doldrums for years.
Again, I say, you hope.
Go to it, Craig.
What does that mean?
Find out what happened to Boxer Doyle and who did it to him.
Come again?
Now, Craig, don't be coy.
You want me to work up a case the police gave up on?
That's right.
On whose behalf? What client?
Me. You're representing me very confidentially. The department has a stake in it. Nothing less, say, than its honor. We've been pilloried by the press, sniped at by columnists, abused by 1,000 sports fans who love Boxer Doyle and who idolize his memory.
Let's see the file on Boxer Doyle.
No. Our files merely tell the story of a failure.
Then where do I start?
There are two important principles after Boxer Doyle himself. Mrs. Doyle and Sam Spiro. Spiro was Doyle's manager and close friend. Barry, I won't forget this favor.
Don't forget one other thing.
What's that?
My fee, client. Want to commit yourself now?
Why not? The best dinner in town at 21. Steak, caviar, champagne. Corona cigars bigger than chimney stacks. All on me if you come through.
And if I flop?
Hot dogs and an orange drink. On you.
I'll take the proposition up with my ulcer. Mrs. Boxer Doyle, Wilma Doyle, had a henna bleach and the telltale look of an ex-showgirl a little too old and frayed around the edges for the chorus line.
What's this visit about, Mr.
Craig, Barrie Craig. I explained over the phone. I'm a police operative wondering about the whereabouts of Boxer Doyle.
Isn't it a little late to be wondering?
Maybe. I'll concede that when I say hello to his corpse. But you talk to me.
I've done nothing but talk to the police for years.
But never to me.
I'm fed up talking. He's gone. He went out for a comic book one night and never came back.
Did he leave you comfortably fixed?
All the gold I could carry in my teeth. Doyle was a fast man with a buck. He even tried handing me cigar coupons for table money. Look around you, Copper, and tell me this dump reminds you of Buckingham Palace.
Almost. I missed the crystal chandeliers. An ex-world champ, Doyle made barrels of dough.
And salted it away where I couldn't touch it.
Who could and can?
Sam Spiro, his manager. Sam's got the power of attorney over everything Doyle owned, except me.
And that diamond belt you auctioned off the other night.
Doyle gave it to me in a weak moment.
All in all, there was no love lost between you and Boxer Doyle.
We fought all the time. Doyle scored KOs that don't appear in the records.
Why would he pick up and disappear?
Whams in his head. Toward the end of our happy marriage, Doyle was 90% off his rocker. I slept with a gun under my pillow in case he went berserk.
What had him down?
His career was behind him. He'd hung up his gloves. Sour, disappointed, and depressed. Hey, you ought to be all out of questions.
One more. Who's in the bedroom?
What kind of a stupid...
The door's open a little. It wasn't when I came in. Who's getting an earful?
My boyfriend.
Boyfriend?
Is it a crime? Doyle walked out here nearly 8 years ago. Steve, come out and be introduced. This is Steve Marcy. Steve, Barrie Craig.
A pleasure.
It isn't mutual.
Steve!
Shut up, Wilma. He's not here for your good. I got an earful, Craig, and a line on your angle.
Which is?
To weasel and browbeat Wilma out of her rights as Doyle's widow.
Said rights being?
An accounting of every penny Sam Spiro holds of Doyle's and Wilma's right to cash in Doyle's insurance.
If Doyle's dead.
He's dead. Legally, anyhow. Enough time has elapsed.
You're petitioning the court to have Doyle declared legally dead?
Wilma is.
Oh.
I don't like that wise guy, oh.
You're so full of dislikes, Buster.
And ready to demonstrate.
Oh. Ooh. Nice right cross. Was it just knuckles or brass knuckle?
My bare fists.
You're a boxer?
I'm a boxer.
The lady's preferences run on a single track.
Get out, Craig.
Sure, but not the way I am. I don't mind nursing my jaw, but not my pride. When the contender comes to, tell him he's a sucker for an uppercut.
I'm sorry, Mr. Craig.
Skip it. I'm out to weasel you, he said. That's both true and false, Wilma, depending on how the facts develop. The guy drops out of the world, and his deserted wife turns out to have a profit motive, and an eager boyfriend with an itching palm. A situation like this pops an ugly word into my head. Murder. On the street, a few doors down from Wilma's tenement palace, somebody blew over to me with the evening mists.
Mind company, Craig?
No, provided you don't say goodbye to me in locked closets.
Keep walking.
I sense a gun, but I don't see it.
You've seen me draw.
Yeah, regular sleight of hand.
Jumping me would be a mistake.
I never want that spelled on my tombstone.
How much, Craig?
How much for what?
For you to hop a plane to Tijuana.
What's there?
High lie.
Never played it.
You're bright. You'll learn.
Is it expensive?
Only if you lose.
What's the maximum I can lose?
$5,000.
When I go, I go.
8.
You'd blow me to an $8,000 vacation?
You got rings under your eyes. Keep getting hit on the head, you'll lose your mind.
That's no joke.
You need to knock off. Rest up. Stick your hand out for the dough.
You really want me to forget about Boxer Doyle?
No changing the subject. We were talking about $8,000.
But what if I'm busting with curiosity about Boxer Doyle?
Craig, don't be funny.
No fooling. I'm still kid enough to be glory-struck over famous sports figures. Enough to be sentimental, like you're sentimental.
You don't want the dough?
What good's my sitting in Tijuana with my mind on something else? I want to know what happened to Doyle. Where did he go? And if murdered, who killed him? And where is the corpus delicti?
Walk ahead of me. Keep walking.
I'm going to get shot in the back?
Maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe today. Maybe tomorrow. Walk.
walk away from a gun. You don't have to feel the lead to feel shock. You imagine it. The sudden burning heat in your spine. So hot, it's ice cold. But Mooney didn't shoot. I just walked away from him into the fog. I finally located Sam Spyro in Kelleher's gymnasium. Collodion and arnica. The place smelled like a surgeon's office.
Watch that left.
Spyro was watching one of his pugs work out. Sam Spyro!
Whatever it is, saving. I'm busy.
Your boy will keep while we talk.
Look, I told you. Hey, who are you?
Barrie Craig,
Process server?
confidential investigator.
Is that the same as a cop?
It is.
And say what you mean.
If you transfer your interest from your meal ticket a minute, I will.
Hey, I'm not under arrest.
Depends on what's on your conscience. Come on. Watching the kid will only aggravate you.
You think he's that bad?
His arms are too short. Come over where we can talk.
Make it snappy.
Okay. Where's the body buried?
Whose body?
Boxer Doyle.
What makes you think Doyle's dead?
I think you killed him so you could keep the dough he let you hold for him. Or you blew the dough in. The stock market, the horses. So you knocked off Doyle to avoid an accounting and prosecution. When you stop hiding behind a counterfeit laugh...
Doyle's as alive as you.
Flattery won't help you.
What makes you so sure he's dead?
8 years. Where does a celebrity keep himself 8 years?
On an island.
What island?
Samoa.
Doing what?
Painting. He got fed up with people. He bought a paint box and a roll of canvas and swam to an island.
Where else does he keep himself?
On a mountaintop. He grew a beard and he's writing the story of his life.
He's in touch with you?
All the time. We're like Corsican brothers, Doyle and me. We communicate all the time. Give me the word I can't think of.
Telepathy.
That's it, telepathy. Every night, promptly 11 p.m., there's a message on my wavelength.
What does it say?
It says, Sam, why can't people mind their own business? Signed, Boxer.
How much loot of Doyle's are you holding?
I'll remember to count it sometime.
When's Doyle reappearing from wherever he is?
That message I ain't received yet. Now I gotta get back to my boy.
Yeah. Better go wipe his nose or he'll begin bawling for his mama. Over steak burgers and curlicue potatoes, I ran over what I had with Trav Rogers.
So Doyle's both alive and dead.
Depending on whose angle you see it from.
Doyle alive, but on the world, incognito somewhere. Keeps Spyro in charge of Doyle's assets.
And keeps Mrs. Doyle out in the cold. In a crisis, what do you bet Spyro even produces phony picture postcards from Doyle?
And Mrs. Doyle's calling Doyle dead for her own practical reasons.
Insurance, enforcing a widow's legal, accounting from Spyro.
Either one could have murdered Doyle and disposed of the body.
Either one, or their boyfriend Steve.
Or the mysterious Mooney.
Mooney puzzles me.
He was the gunman who originally did the dirty work?
For Wilma or Spyro?
Either one. And now Mooney's busy seeing that the case doesn't get off the ground, blow hot.
I could buy it if one thing didn't stick out.
What thing?
The diamond belt. Mooney's reason for the purchase.
There I'm stumped. Where do you go from here?
For a ride, I think.
A ride?
Parked on the street side of the plate glass. Eyeing me and waiting for me. But don't look now.
Who?
My shadow. The Eisenhower jacket.
Mooney.
I'm going out.
To nab him?
No. Give him all the rain he wants. I've got a feeling he's finally provoked enough to tell me something.
But the risk is...
He could have killed me twice, but didn't. I'll leave the tip. The check's all yours, Lieutenant. I didn't wait to be coaxed to take a ride. I guessed you were waiting to chauffeur me, Mooney.
You've got nerve, Craig.
You've noticed, huh?
And gall.
You sure made a study of me. I won't even bother asking our destination. I'll trust you. Our destination turned out to be the home of a man whose shingle outside a big rambling estate read Dr. Otto Steiner. A round, little nervous man, Steiner, with fluttering hands. It was plain to see that Steiner didn't relish the upcoming session.
Tell Craig about Boxer Doyle, Doc.
Tell Craig, yes. I treated Boxer Doyle.
Get to it, Doc. Tell Craig the condition Doyle was in.
Depressed to a manic state. His vitality, the splendid energies and physique that had carried him so far in his career...
Spell it out in a word, Doc.
Well, Doyle had a wish to self-destruction. He told me he had attempted his own life on 2 occasions. That is about all, I suppose.
That wraps it up.
Not so fast, Mooney. Doc, Doyle was in treatment when he disappeared?
Yes.
How long had you known Boxer Doyle?
Oh, a very long time, Mr. Craig. I was his personal physician and friend for a long time before his breakdown.
Let's get out of here, Craig.
Kind of a fast shuffle, Mooney. Is it deliberate?
I said let's get out of here.
Mooney tacked on a postscript to the doc's testimony over drinks in the nearest roadside tavern. A small beer for me and lots of drinks for Mooney, like a guy drowning a painful memory.
You heard the doc, Craig.
What were you to Doyle?
My name isn't Mooney. Barley. Trainer Barley.
Trainer Barley?
Fame rubs off. I was a ranking contender once until Doyle flattened me.
Sorry, I can quote you baseball batting averages and pitches.
When Doyle stopped me, I joined up with him. As Doyle's trainer. As Doyle's friend.
You were really close to Doyle, huh?
I worshiped the guy. When Doyle went, the book closed for me, too. Now you know why I bought in that belt.
Yeah, now I know.
Now you know why I didn't bid it in myself.
You didn't want to be identified as Trainer Barley.
I didn't want any publicity on it. Sob stuff in the papers.
The $64 question, mister.
My advice still is, don't ask it, Craig. Do like I've been coaxing you all along. Cancel out, take a vacation. Forget Doyle.
The $64 question, mister.
You'll be stuck keeping a secret.
Maybe.
You blab what I tell you. Make like a cop, disgrace Doyle, and I'll kill you. Doyle tried twice, the doc said. There was a third try.
You're saying that Boxer Doyle committed suicide?
Right in front of me. On a cabin cruiser fishing off the Florida Keys. Doyle was better, I thought. Laughing, cracking jokes, working on a suntan. I took my eyes off him. He went over the side.
Period.
6 hours later, I found him washed against the rocks. I buried him at sea in the middle of the night.
Your reason?
What do you think?
Disgrace. Your word, disgrace. Suicide was a disgrace. Doyle was a heroic legend. You didn't want any tarnish on it.
Not then or now. So close your file on Doyle, Craig, and live. Come on, I'll drive you back to town.
No, thanks. I'll stick around here for a while.
Way out here? What for?
Tie on a bun, maybe, like you did.
What are you up to, Craig?
I could be sad and sentimental, like you're sad and sentimental. Good night, mister. When Trainer Barley tore himself away, I got on the phone. Headquarters? Relay this message to Lieutenant Trav Rogers and quick. He's to meet Barrie Craig at Dr. Otto Steiner's in Wentmore, out in Nassau County, as fast as he can make it. Leaving the tavern to hitch a ride to Doc Steiner's, Trainer Barley tried to make good on a threat. Barley shooting from the concealment of roadside bushes. I'd need surgery and electric therapy to recover the use of my left hand. I found my own bush.
I warned you the secret would be hard to keep, Craig.
Call a lie by its right name, mister.
I saw you go to the phone. Now come and get the rest of my gun.
I order you to surrender, Barley.
You're not in the penny arcade now, Craig. No shooting at sitting ducks.
Barley, it's a lost cause. The legend's not half the size of your crazy sentimental fanaticism. Give up, Barley.
I'm finding the range, Craig.
I've found the range. Your voice was the range, Barley. Crawl into the open on your hands and knees, or I'll shoot to kill. Later, after patching up Barley's leg wounds in a private hospital behind Otto Steiner's residence, Trav Rogers and I got to meet Boxer Doyle in the flesh.
Gentlemen, this is Boxer Doyle.
A shrunken man, half as big as the sports world remembered him. He sat in a chair facing a window, vacant to his surroundings, deaf to our voices. Around his waist was a diamond belt held in place by pins.
This was the secret Trainer Barley risked his life to keep?
And Sam Sparrow. Only his wife knew nothing.
A rare disease of the spine. Malignant. Doyle fell away bit by bit to what you see.
How long, Doctor?
Not long. He has nothing left. Only his magnificent fighting heart.
Trav.
Yes, Craig.
When the story gets out, I'm taking over. As crazy fanatic as Trainer Barley. Any tarnish on the legend of a great champ, I'll break heads. Good night, folks. See you next week.
You have been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, The Deadly Fight, was written by John Robert. Next week, it's the strange story titled The Very Odd Job, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week, I'm hired to deliver a puppet, watch a girl faint, discover a vintage murder, and realize that the only thing that's black as it's painted is a coffin. See you next week, folks.
Featured in the role of Mrs. Doyle was Fran Carlin. Barrie Craig, starring William Gargan, was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Now, Robert Montgomery presents something different in news analysis on NBC.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
The trouble with murder as a business is that very few of the men who take it up have any judgment. Sooner or later, they run it right into the ground.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. With the weather what it is, a smart operator would be spending his evenings indoors, parked near the steam heat, with a glass in his hand and a small warm glow in the region of his lower chest. I guess I don't qualify. I still like to take walks. Around about this time of the night, there's not much on the street. The air's cold and clean. It's nice to find out you have a pair of lungs which can use that air.
Hey, you!
Me?
Hold it, eh?
Hold what?
The lippy type, huh?
No, just not quick, that's all.
You're Craig.
That's more or less what I answer to.
I got a job for you.
I'd better make a note of it.
What the devil you took?
How often does a job come running after a man?
I'd save the conversation for a friend, Craig. You would like to make a couple of hundred easy?
Me and most of the adult male population of the United States.
Take this.
This? A small puppet. Come to think of it, are there any big puppets?
You deliver that, that's all. 200.
I deliver it to who?
The name is Ann Kelly.
She wants a puppet?
She'll be very happy to get that one, see?
Not exactly, but there are lots of Kellys in the phone book.
And this time of night she'll be at Easy's open house. It's a clip joint over in the East 80s.
She helps Easy keep the house open?
She helps him keep it filled.
What does she use, a hook?
You catch her routine, you'll be able to add it up for yourself.
That's in addition to the 200?
Yeah.
I don't see the 200 yet.
It's on your office desk.
It's going to get awful dusty. You know, the last time I looked, I didn't notice any money on that desk.
It's there now. But don't try to collect it, see? Not till after you deliver the puppet.
Makes a kind of sense. Do I give Miss Kelly your regards along with the puppet?
Do you know whose regards to give her?
No.
Well, then you better skip it. You can make the joint in maybe 15 minutes. I wouldn't be happy about you dragging it out.
Craig always keeps his clients happy. I'll get it to her in 15 minutes.
So long. I wouldn't bother remembering the license plates.
You wouldn't?
No, they don't belong to the car.
Well, that's so.
Even more than that.
Yeah?
The car don't belong to me.
I didn't bother about the license plates. I always believe a client, even if he happens to be a mug. This one was. But he wasn't a liar. Easy's open house was over in the East 80s, and it was open. Ann Kelly wasn't at the moment helping keep the house open. I ducked a head waiter and headed for the dressing room. One of the advantages of being a confidential investigator, you always know where the back rooms are, if you can call it an advantage. One of the doors had a gray slip of paper glued to it. The name on the paper was Ann Kelly. I didn't have to think about it much. The slip of paper had started out in life nice and white.
Practicing how to be a drummer, boy?
That, I decided, was an invitation to come in. Ann Kelly had started out in life nice and clean. We all do. In her case, she'd held on to a little of that niceness, cleanness. A little.
What happened to you? You lost your table or something?
No.
I'm on display out on the floor, not back here, mister.
My name's Barrie Craig.
Well, that's a very fine name. I'll write home and tell Mother all about it.
You're Ann Kelly.
I'm not the King of France, but I guess you could tell that.
They haven't got a king in France.
Oh,
I'm here on a job.
Really?
It's an odd kind of job.
You want to cry on my shoulder about it?
It's a nice shoulder, but offhand, there wouldn't seem to be anything wrong with the job.
Then why don't you do it?
Yeah. It's in my pocket here.
Your job?
The most important part of it. I was instructed to deliver it to you. This.
That's...
A puppet. Here.
Oh, no. No.
Miss Kelly! My client had said Ann Kelly would be very happy to get the puppet. He was wrong. Unless every time Ann Kelly got happy, she passed out. Miss Kelly. Miss Kelly.
Kelly, you're on. Kelly. I don't like to be nasty, Kelly, but the customers are impatient. Oh.
She fainted.
Really, sir, you shouldn't. I mean, after all.
I didn't.
Oh.
You Easy?
I beg your pardon. You meant, am I Mr. Easy?
That's what I meant.
Well, I'm so sorry. I'm not. I'm Osborne.
Oh, don't fret about it. Where can I find Easy?
Oh, his office is down the hall. Oh, what a delightful puppet. You must have dropped it?
No.
Well, I mean, is it yours?
No.
Well, it must be Kelly's then. Fancy.
I'm too busy right now. Better hang around until she comes to, huh?
Well, I suppose I must.
Yeah. I didn't spend any time thinking. I hadn't anything to think about. The hallway back at the club was a carbon copy of the mall. Shabby, the walls greasy with ancient dirt. The light bulb overhead not putting up much of a fight. Easy's office wasn't hard to find. That figured. Light leaked out from under the door. Somebody was in. The door was locked. Osborne could have been lying.
Impatient, friend?
He wasn't. Mr. Easy was at home. But why the delay?
The strong, silent type, friend?
The name's Craig. I think I'd like you using it better than friend.
I'll try to remember. You coming in, Craig?
If you don't mind.
So, now what?
Just information. What do you know about Ann Kelly?
Why do I discuss her with you?
I'm on a job. And it could turn out pretty nasty. And it could be the Kelly girl doesn't deserve it.
She appeals to you? That could be arranged. You got a heavy hand, friend.
Lay off the friend, huh?
Going around protecting virtue, you're a little late with Kelly.
I asked you a question.
So you did.
No. The desk drawer stays shut. I don't want to admire your gun. About the girl.
She works here. The customers like her. I pay her $125 a week, period.
How'd you come to hire her?
She dropped in, asked for an audition, and she got it, so she got the job.
Nice and neat.
Don't try to make a thing of a girl passing out, Craig. Kelly happens to pass out easy.
How'd you know she fainted? You stalled me outside the door. Come on.
I like it here.
I said come on.
All right, take your hands off. I'm coming.
Thanks. Stall me outside your door. Stall me in your office. You knew about her fainting. The pretty boy must have phoned from her dressing room. This one.
What's the idea of busting in here?
You're not Ann Kelly.
Of course she isn't, Craig. I could have told you that before you half knocked the door down.
Hold on. Yeah. The same room. A hunk of paper with her name on it was torn off the door.
Look, Craig, the little lady here's dressing for her act. We're in her way.
This was Ann Kelly's dressing room up until a couple of minutes ago.
You're crazy. I'm beginning to think you never even seen her.
Where is she, Easy?
She finished her last show for the night, probably on her way home.
No.
The little lady could start screaming. That would bring us lots of company.
Yeah. So it's going to be this way. I never saw Ann Kelly. She wasn't here. I never handed her a... Wait a minute. What's this?
That? Looks like a puppet to me.
Whose puppet?
How would I know? Maybe it belongs to Susie. Does it, Susie?
Sure.
There you are, Craig. Well?
A nice snooker play. Shut Craig off in a corner, get Kelly out of the place, and... Okay. Excuse me, little lady.
Craig.
Yeah?
I don't want any trouble. I don't know what you think you saw.
Make it short.
But if you want to look through the place, it's okay with me.
Thanks. I'm not much good at closing stable doors, though. So long, Easy. I was in a hurry. Ann Kelly wouldn't be in the phone book. I needed help. A confidential investigator isn't much good on a big deal in a hurry, whatever the book says. I yelled for help to the cops. Lieutenant Rogers.
Oh, Craig, the perambulating operative.
Take it easy, Trav, and don't forget, I never went to college.
Will anyone ever forget I did?
Lead a clean life, and maybe they will. Trav, I need help in a hurry.
What kind of help?
I want a girl named Ann Kelly found, and found fast.
What's special about her?
She faints when you shove a puppet under her nose.
I feel something like that about puppets myself. You're not joking?
No.
All right. We'll go see what the boys in the back room are having. What can you give me on her?
She's an entertainer at Easy's open house.
So far, pretty bad.
I've got a feeling she's in the wrong place.
Chivalry, Barry?
It's part of a job.
I beg your pardon. I almost insulted you by implying you have a heart.
Everybody's got a heart. All it does is pump the blood around. I was hired to deliver a puppet to her. She took one look at it and passed out. I went visiting Easy.
Not a nice man.
No. He stalled me. By the time I realized it and shot back to the girl's dressing room, they'd planted somebody else there. The girl was gone.
You stop here. I'll go inside, find out if there's a record on her. You sit down and write out a nice description.
You might feed a pretty boy named Osborne to your men, too. Works for easy.
Osborne. Sit down, Barry. Get that description done. No poetry, though.
Poetry? What's that? Trav didn't need a written description. He just thought it might be a good idea if I had something to do while I was waiting. I guess it showed pretty plainly. I didn't bother with the description. I just waited.
Barry?
Yeah?
Nothing on Kelly. No record. You got that description done?
She's blonde, blue-eyed, medium height, in her 20s. What good would it do you?
No good. Come on.
Come on where?
Osborne's in the books. I've got an address for him.
All right.
On our way over, you can tell me about who hired you for the puppet delivery.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something in return for it.
You will? What about?
Puppets?
We climbed into Lieutenant Rogers' car and went away from headquarters. My story didn't take up very much time.
You never got a good look at your client, then?
No, I'd recognize him, but...
Maybe it'll come out in the wash. Or perhaps we can correlate a couple of stories.
You're speaking to somebody who had his troubles with the 8th grade.
Mm-hmm. I imagine the 8th grade had more trouble with you. Barry, about a year ago, the department became indirectly interested in the puppet show.
Homicide?
Homicide. The primary interest was by the Treasury. Seems a couple of people who were very good with puppets also did pretty well with distributing counterfeit money.
Peculiar tie-up.
No. The puppets worked with a tent show. A tent show is always moving, hits every part of the country. Its customers keep changing. It's not a bad center for distribution.
I guess not.
The puppets were handled by a couple of people. A blonde girl named Ann Keegan and her father.
Keegan? Kelly?
A possibility. However, the Treasury started pressing. Things happened. There was no direct evidence about the girl, but her father was definitely implicated, along with a couple of men in the background. One to supply the counterfeit, the other to run the whole operation.
They had names?
The manufacturer was called Dalgos. The man in charge may have been John Easy.
May have been?
No evidence. Dalgos served a year on an old charge. The operation was broken up, but a couple of $100,000 in very good counterfeit currency disappeared at the time.
And somebody's looking for it now. You said Homicide was interested?
Yes. The girl's father was cracking under the pressure. He was ready to confess. But someone got to him before then.
And he died?
He died.
Jigsaw puzzles are fun working out. You keep looking at the pieces, and after a while you begin putting them together. You have your problems, but pretty soon you lick them. And then you're finished. But suppose you don't like the picture you wind up with.
Osborne's got an apartment in this house.
He tie in with the tent show deal?
No evidence. Osborne, yes. Apartment 1C. Would be on the ground floor.
Convenient.
You probably think you're being cynical, but you're right. For a criminal, the ground floor is definitely convenient.
I'm bright without knowing it, huh? About the only way I'm bright.
Your modesty is becoming. How accurate it is.
No knock?
No knock. This one ought to do it. We won't loiter until invited. Yes.
Yes, what? The room's empty.
But the lights are on.
Door on the opposite wall.
Shut. However. Bedroom. And...
Not empty.
That's your friend, Osborne?
He's not nearly so pretty anymore. The girl?
No sign of her in here. Nor in the living room.
The bathroom? No.
Well, the body's still warm. Window open. Alley.
Anything besides the garbage cans?
Sure. Ash cans. Phone? No. Back in the living room. Nice apartment. A Modigliani on the wall. Modern furniture. With thick walls.
The shots weren't hurt. A what on the wall?
That painting.
Looks more French than Italian.
Mm-hmm. You knew who Modigliani was all along. Oh, well. We'll have company in a few minutes. The girl must have decided she didn't care for Osborne's hospitality. Barrie! Barrie, come back here. I don't want you sticking that thick neck of yours out. Barrie!
I wasn't in the mood for company. Besides, everything had gone too smooth, too fast. The cops would have a time breaking things out into the open. They were dealing with professionals. Me, maybe I wouldn't be figured close. I never won any medals for brilliance. It might be a help. Everything had happened in a hurry. The man who'd handed me the puppet that started everything had mentioned how smart I'd be if I stayed away from my office until my job was done. That meant a man would be watching it. Maybe nobody had notified him I'd finished my job. Maybe he'd still be watching the office. He was there. He wasn't happy about it either. That was a cold doorway he was holding down. Me, I picked another doorway and waited. I wait very good. One of these days, I'm going to start a movement to have all doorways heated, if I ever thaw out. A car came down the street. A quick look told me it was the same one I'd seen the boy with the puppet riding. I let it pass me and made my car. And watched the car up ahead stop for the mug on sentry duty. He climbed in. Everything was okay now. Craig could go upstairs and collect his 200. But Craig had other ideas. They weren't expecting company. They weren't very careful. They let a straight run downtown and over towards the harbor. They pulled the car up into an alley, left it there, and used their feet. It wasn't a long walk. They used a stoop, went into a house that was young and fresh, maybe when the last century died, and shut the door behind them. Force of habit got me to the back door. There wasn't a cop in sight. I leaned on the door. It opened. They were pretty sure of themselves. Downstairs was nothing much. A couple of empty rooms, one that wasn't empty. 2 mugs, neither of whom interested me. I tried the stairs. Nobody was worried. I got to the top. Things improved up there. If you could call it an improvement.
The waterworks don't make much of an impression on me, kid.
I don't know what you want.
In a pig's eye,
I've already told you.
Sure, and I already didn't believe you.
I can't.
I got lots more. Well?
I could open the door and walk in. I might live long enough to identify my client, but not long enough to do the girl much good.
I ain't got all year. I need the green stuff. I got sent up. The cops took over my equipment. I need the green stuff. I pass it on back in business again. You wouldn't want to stand in my way, would you?
I never knew anything about...
Sure, it was your old man. Remember what happened to him? It could happen to you.
What was the smart move? Get out of there and yell for the cops? Maybe they would have showed up in time. But who's smart? Hello, Dalgas.
Your private eye. What?
I don't like the way you treat women, Dalgas. I'm firing you as a client.
Okay, you've been funny. Now talk straight.
That was straight.
What are you waiting for, a medal?
I'll take Ann Keegan instead.
You know who I am?
It's been a lousily kept secret.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I ain't giving out Ann Keegan's tonight.
Just one will be enough.
You packing a rod, Snoop?
What do you think?
I think you ain't. Otherwise, you'd be showing. So...
I can break you in half before you get yours out.
Maybe. But the boys downstairs, what do you think they'll be doing?
You'd be dead before they got here.
Maybe. Maybe not. But after they got here, you would be dead. And the girl, she might not be so lucky.
We've both got something.
All you got's a prayer.
No. You haven't yelled for help yet.
So what?
So you're afraid of what I'd do to you before they got here.
I'm just hanging around waiting to see how bright you are.
We'll leave it at that. I'm not at all bright. I want the girl.
Nah.
We've both got something. You've got the boys downstairs. Me? I've got the green stuff. The 200 grand in counterfeit money.
Where did you...
Not here, not on me. How foolish do you think I am?
You're running a nice bluff.
No bluff. Ann, how'd you get your job at the open house?
After my father was killed, Easy offered it to me. He used to be a friend of my father's. He said he'd look after me.
I'll bet he did.
None of this tells me where the stuff is.
Nobody's telling you. Not till the girl and I are out of here.
You take me for a sucker?
You picked the girl up after she left the nightclub. You'd sent me to her with a puppet. You figured it would frighten her and make her run.
You're not telling me anything I don't know.
Yes, I am. Was anyone with her?
Yeah, cute little fella. I didn't have any trouble with him.
His name's Osborne.
I ain't anxious for an introduction.
You picked up something else when you picked Ann up.
Yeah?
A murder rap.
That's supposed to be funny? A murder rap for who?
Osborne.
What are you talking about? All I did was push him around a little.
When the cops found him, he'd been pushed around a lot. With half a dozen .32 caliber lead-nosed slugs.
Oh, what's that got to do with...
You've got it all now. How do you like it?
I don't like it. At all.
You've got one chance of beating that rap.
Yeah, how?
Keeping the girl and me alive.
How would that happen?
I can clear you if I want to. But it'll cost you.
Cost me what?
$200,000 in counterfeit money. It took him a little time to decide. Him a little time and me a lot of sweat. But then he came around, halfway. He let Ann go. She went. But me he was holding on to until I could produce the counterfeit money and the out for a murder rap.
I got a gun on you, and I keep it on you. The boys cover the open house front and back. Any funny business?
I know.
Yeah, but you ain't sure. You can be sure. With that rap riding my shoulders, what have I got to lose?
What do you want me to do? Turn green with fright?
Well, we've arrived. What do you know? Hey, Sam, get out first. Cover a big boy from the outside, huh? You go out, Craig.
Thanks.
Me with you. We walk nice and close together. The gun right under your ribs. You wouldn't think of a quick wrestle. Trigger's shave goes off if I breathe too hard.
It's all built up. Let's go, huh?
Sam, you take the bank. Big boy walks out without me. He gets it hard. You stay out here, Beef. Same orders for you. Come on, Craig. That joint ain't open.
Not for business. There's a back office.
Yeah. That's where we do business?
Right. We go in.
It don't smell good in here.
You ever been in a place that did?
You watch it. I insult Easy.
Easy reminds me. Ever know a man named Easy?
Nah.
You're going to. Come on.
Light through that door.
It's the one we want. I don't think we knock. Hello, Easy.
Craig. And...
Hey, what did you call him?
Easy. John Easy. Any objections?
Well, the name's Marlowe. Ain't it, Marlowe?
Hello, Doggos. Long time no see.
Not such a long time, a 1-year stretch.
And that's over. I'm pleased for you. Though I can't say I approve of the company you're keeping.
Never mind that. I got a gun on him. But what about...
He's the man worked with you and Keegan before you were sent up, Dalgas?
Sure.
He's the man gave Ann Keegan a job here because he used to be a friend of her father's.
Nothing wrong with that.
Except, who killed Ann Keegan's father, Dalgas?
I don't know.
Did you?
You're fishing for what?
The truth. I don't think you killed him, Dalgas.
Thanks for nothing.
But who did? Who does it have to be?
Dalgos, why my office? I mean, if you enjoy playing games with this thick-headed idiot...
I don't think you killed Osborne either, Dalgas. But look when Osborne dies. Immediately after your release from jail. And under what circumstances? when he was supposedly hiding Ann Keegan out. What does that add up to? Your conviction, because you wound up with Ann Keegan.
Well, that much I know. What you're handing me now is...
John Easy, alias Marlowe. He had the motive. He'd latched onto the $200,000. He knew you'd be after Ann as soon as you got out. That's why he hired her. So he could use her for a bait for a trap in which he could break your neck.
It could be that way.
Dalgos.
Yeah?
You got your gun on, Craig?
Yeah.
Then you won't be able to do very much about this, will you?
What?
Yeah, my gun pointing at you. As far as yours is concerned, shoot Craig or not as you please.
Why, you dirty...
You're using that gun on Craig? No? Then suppose you drop it.
Okay.
Mr. Craig is unfortunately right. Too bad you had to get him involved in this, Dalgos. Otherwise, you'd have a little longer to live. Not much, but every hour counts, doesn't it?
You've got that dough.
Of course I have, and I'll have fun spending it. With caution. Now think of your orphan, Dalgos.
You can't afford it.
Sure I can. Craig tracked you down. You and he had a gunfight. You both got killed. Who knows? Craig might even get a medal. It'll work, Dalgos.
I don't think so.
What?
Drop it. I said... What? Hi, Barrie.
Hello, and welcome, Trav.
Mr. Easy, or I guess I should say Marlowe, will live long enough. The counterfeit money?
In his safe, I guess.
Oh, we'll find out. Are you waiting for anything, Dalgos?
Huh? No.
I've got a few policemen outside. They've collected his associates. I think they'll be pleased to pick him up. He's managed to acquire a few brand new charges in a very short time.
Thanks for showing up on time. I was beginning to wonder if you ever would.
You were gambling on the girl, weren't you?
Uh-huh.
But she was honest that she'd come straight to us, and...
It paid off, didn't it?
She's waiting for you at headquarters. She wants to see you. Barrie, when you get to her, I think you'll first realize just how well it paid off.
Good night, folks. See you next week.
You've been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, A Very Odd Job, was written by Lou Vittis. Next week, it's the strange story titled Diary of Death, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week, murder counts to a bloody 3. When 3 pieces of a treasure map that should lead to a great fortune only leads to greater misfortune. See you next week, folks.
Featured in the role of Anne was Elspeth Eric. Barrie Craig, starring William Gargan, was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Now, Robert Montgomery presents something different in news analysis on NBC.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
There's an old school motto with a modern twist, folks. An empty barrel makes a fine casket.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. Manhattan Island's my beat. From Battery Place uptown to Spite and Divo. I've got my footprints on every inch of sidewalk, a memory in every mile. Get used to a beat and it's like home to you. You're an island native, and only a pretty fancy fee can drag you even across the river to Brooklyn or 3 other boroughs. To drag you out of town needs a major earthquake or an act of Congress. So how come I find myself 40 miles from Broadway in an incorporated village called Seneca on the trail of a claw murderer? A nice little gent with side whiskers like Abraham Lincoln coaxed me into it. Town Supervisor Samuels, he called himself. His pitch went something like this.
I came straight to you from Lieutenant Trav Rogers of your Metropolitan Police, Mr. Craig.
Yeah, Lieutenant Rogers phoned me you just left his office. No dice, old man. Seneca's off my beat.
But it's a situation of desperate emergency.
What's the population of your village, Samuel?
300.
A killer can't lose himself in that small a crowd.
But
order every townsman to line up in the public square. Then go up and down the line. When you see a wild gleam, nab him.
A wild gleam?
The guy you're looking for is a lunatic, first class. The claw used in the killing shows that. One nut in a neighborly crowd, your sheriff can't be that helpless.
He is. Berkey's only honorary sheriff. His business is farm tools and tractors.
Who's your regular sheriff?
We have nobody. Crime in Seneca is a rare thing. Don't even have a jail.
Pass the hat and build yourself one. Crime's here to stay, people say.
The board of supervisors empowered me to supersede Berkey, to contract outside help. Someone experienced in homicide. You were highly recommended.
By Trav Rogers. The lieutenant's having his joke.
Please, Mr. Craig.
You're a nice town supervisor, and you look like a tintype of an old favorite uncle of mine. I'd like to help you, but no amount of pleading. No power on earth. Not 50 claw killings can entice me 40 miles from New York. In Seneca, flanked by Samuels and the sometime sheriff, I got a look at the corpse. The morgue was the back room of a taxpayer divided into a grain, oats, and seed shop and mortuary parlor.
This was Dr. Tyler, Mr. Craig.
A doctor, huh?
Horse doctor.
Oh, sad day for Dobbin. Pretty thorough job of annihilation.
Shocking crime.
The claw marks on the skull were made by a garden tool, looks like.
Yeah.
Did Doc Tyler have any enemies? Let the sheriff answer, Samuels.
Why, no. Not to my knowledge, he didn't. Doc Tyler was a pillar in the community, a fine, respected
Save
man.
the eulogy for the funeral services, huh? Theft, then. Was anything stolen?
No, I'll have to say no to that. All Tyler had was accounts receivable, bills owing him for his doctoring work.
You went over his property, then?
I did. The robbery was my notion, too, at first. I ordered an inventory of everything Tyler owned, right down to the horse bales.
And nothing was missing?
Nothing of any account, no. Except for old Baldy, everything was right where it belonged.
Except for old Baldy, you say?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Old Baldy's an old iron paperweight, the American Eagle. Doc Tyler always had it on his desk on top of a pile of papers.
And old Baldy was missing?
Yes, we couldn't find hide nor hair of it. Well, either somebody borrowed it and planned to keep it now that Tyler's gone, or Tyler threw it out.
Or the murderer clawed Tyler to get it.
Oh, now, why would anybody want to commit murder for a worthless old paperweight?
Can't say, but that's why I'm in this whistle stop, to find out why.
And that brings us down to cases. You and me.
Come again?
Your being here. Samuels brought you out against me.
Against you?
No, Sheriff.
Shut up, Samuels. This is between me and Craig. Against me, I said, Craig.
Oh, I get it. Your pride's hurt, huh, Sheriff?
When you've jackassed around a while and Samuels admits to being the finicky fool he is, I'm marching you to the railroad station.
With a brass band and local school mom doubling as drum majorette. A big goodbye to a conquering hero, Sheriff, because my parting gift to Seneca is your claw murderer in person. Want to bet? I found overnight accommodations at a Miss Pringle's split seconds before a storm broke. Miss Pringle was a spinster who looked it, and a fluffy white poodle who looked as if he was eating himself into his grave to escape Miss Pringle.
This is Fluff, Mr. Craig.
Fluff, huh? Does he bark?
Seldom. Fluff has chronic laryngitis.
Oh.
Dr. Tyler, peace to him, was treating Fluff.
Sad about Dr. Tyler.
You're here to find the fiend?
I'm here to get a night's sleep.
Very well, you can have the attic room.
Why so high a climb?
But I'm not accustomed to taking male lodgers.
Enough said. Blankets, towels, is everything there?
Oh, yes, the room is ready.
And a wall outlet so I can plug in and shave?
No, the electric wires don't extend to the attic.
Oh.
There's a kerosene lamp. Now, if you go to your room...
You're pushing me, Miss Pringle.
But I'm not accustomed to men in my parlor.
Enough said. I'll see you in my dreams.
Oh, my.
Good night, Miss Pringle. There were things I wasn't accustomed to, like attics, like figuring out how to light kerosene lamps, or like having the roof suddenly cave in on my head. I went down from a sneak blow. A club, the weapon felt like. I went down, but not out. I could see through a red haze like a film of blood, and I could hear glass breaking somewhere in the room. I rolled on the floor, not to be a sitting duck for a second blow. But no second blow came. Just quiet and the rain outside. The rain blowing in from an open window. The window my sneak opponent had used getting in and out. I went out the window after him. Outside, just at the edge of Miss Pringle's driveway, I ran into a reasonable facsimile of King Kong. A guy who looked as if he should be swinging from trees. Sitting behind the wheel of an open convertible, its top down. Working the car starter and getting nowhere. Having trouble, friend?
It's slow, don't want to go.
The wires are wet.
I'm driving good and then it stops.
Your wires are wet.
I'm driving good and then it stops and then it won't go.
You're getting all tangled up in your IQ, friend. Doesn't the top go up?
Yeah, easy. This button here, you push it.
So push it.
No.
You got a medium-sized lake around you. Floodwaters rising from the floorboard.
I'm not pushing no button. I like it like this.
How did you happen to stall here?
I told you I'm driving good.
And then it stops and then it won't go.
You making fun of me?
No. Did we meet a while ago?
Huh? Where?
In Miss Pringle's attic.
No. I'm driving, so how could it be?
How could it be? Parked here the last 5 minutes. Did you see anybody in a hurry to quit the general neighborhood of Miss Pringle's?
No. I see nobody.
You're sure?
Are you trying to mix me up?
Nature got to you first. Just for future reference, what name do you answer to?
Harmony.
Harmony?
Yeah. You like it?
Back in the attic with the kerosene lamp lit and Miss Pringle in a trembling spasm, I took stock of the room.
Oh, what you've told me, Mr. Craig, it's unbelievable.
Believe it. I wasn't born with this rhinoceros egg on my head.
But what purpose
I'm checking to see. This picture on the floor, where was it hanging originally? The kerosene lamp's throwing so many shadows I can't see the nail hole.
Why, it hung there over the highboy. The glass broke?
Yeah, it needs a new glass. A ship's print, huh?
Yes, the Princess Ida, an old whaling vessel.
The picture have any special meaning?
Special meaning?
A value, an heirloom or something?
Why, no value. I only paid $1 for... Oh, wait. Yes, come to think of it, I was offered a good price for it.
How good a price?
$100, if I recollect.
For $1 print? Who made the offer?
The young Mr. Stanley, the one with the new antique shop out on North Rugby.
Why didn't you sell the picture to him?
Well, I'm not sure. For spite, I guess.
Spite?
Well, the young man was too persistent and bad-mannered. Calling me on the telephone and then tracking his muddy boots on my parlor rugs. But I don't understand why these questions.
Somebody was up here to steal the picture. I got in the way and was struck down.
But nobody stole the Princess Ida.
It was dropped in the commotion and the getaway. I heard breaking glass while rolling on the floor.
Oh, you're trying to frighten me.
Just enough to make you twice the cautious miss you already are. No men in your parlor. There's one joker abroad who might not respect that rule.
Oh, you're not alluding to the claw murderer.
Bolt your door and sleep with one eye open.
Oh, my...
I've just found you, beautiful, and I don't want to lose you.
Mr. Craig.
Yes, Miss Pringle?
There's a fine room on the first floor right next to mine.
Oh, no thanks. I'm getting to like the attic.
There's electricity and a wall outlet you can shave.
Oh, really kind of you. But I'm looking forward to roughing it. It'll toughen me up.
Mr. Craig, I insist you move to the room downstairs next to mine.
Oh, this creeping infatuation for me. Fight it, Miss Pringle, to your last drop of blood. We could get to be the talk of Seneca.
But I don't care, Mr. Craig. I'm frightened.
In the morning, I took breakfast with Town Supervisor Samuels. Breakfast and information.
I'm sorry, Sheriff Berkey made you unwelcome.
Berkey's sensitive to competition.
I'm sorry about your injury.
My injury?
You were attacked and beaten last night.
How could you know?
Miss Pringle had me on the telephone in the middle of the night.
Oh. I want to know about a couple of your townspeople.
Yeah?
First, a bright chap who calls himself Harmony.
Harmony? Now, what reason could you...
Never mind. I'm asking the questions. Tell me about him.
Harmony's Big Toby Keller. Hires out for odd jobs. Spring plowing, window washing, garage work.
How about dirty work?
No. Craig, you're wrong about Harmony. I'd take an oath. His mind isn't the best. But we know him to be good-natured, honest.
Mm-hmm. What about a young Mr. Stanley?
Fred Stanley? He's a newcomer to Seneca.
What brought him here?
A lawyer got him to come in the first place. From Chicago, I think. Yeah, Chicago. Fred Stanley came thinking he was a missing heir. Claim his grandfather's fortune.
But there was no fortune.
Only an old house just this side of the Seneca line, not worth the taxes on it.
Why was there any idea of a fortune at all?
And the grandfather, old Mitchell Stanley, was said to be a rich miser who put no trust in banks. When Mitch Stanley died, there wasn't a penny. They had to auction off his furniture to pay for his funeral.
But young Stanley stayed on in Seneca.
Yeah, opened an antique shop in the old Stanley house.
Can he make out in a one-horse town like this?
He has business signs posted on the highways, hoping to get the tourist trade. What's your interest in Fred Stanley?
He tried to buy a ship's print, the Princess Ida, from a girlfriend of mine, Miss Pringle. Stanley offered $100 for a picture worth $1. A liberal offer like that...
Craig!
No, don't blow your gasket. It's only a parcel delivery through your closed window. Did you order this?
What is it?
A claw. A garden tool like the one used on Doc Tyler. And a note with it. It's addressed to me, Barrie Craig. Get out of Seneca by 10 this morning or never.
Get out of Seneca by 10?
9. I've got an hour of grace.
Or never. Craig, it's a threat against your life.
I'll be planted in the country. A city fellow like me.
The handwriting.
No handwriting. The note was put together with newsprint. Can I borrow your car?
Yeah, of course.
Stanley's antique shop is on North Rugby Road, just this side of the Seneca line, you said.
It's a 3-mile drive, up the incline to Widow's Ridge, then left a quarter-mile... Craig, be careful. Please, I don't want your murder on my conscience.
Okay, I'll stay alive, but only for your sake, mind you. Staying alive is a deal that sometimes needs the cooperation of unknown parties, in my racket anyhow. Climbing the steep incline to Widow's Ridge. Climbing maybe 300 feet into morning mists as thick as pea soup. I knew I wasn't going to get that kind of cooperation. A rifle shot that blew a tire into confetti. Crash off the incline had to come. Funny distortions in your eye when you first come to and start taking inventory to see if you're alive. A half-frozen robin who didn't have the sense to fly south for the winter. He sat on the side of the hill, 10 feet from where I lay, staring solemnly at me and chirping prayers for my safety. Oh, when I started getting to my feet, the robin flew away. The inventory added up. I was all there in one piece, with a few dents that couldn't hurt forever. Samuel's car was down at the foot of the incline, topsy-turvy, like it was playing dead dog. I'd been thrown clear of the wreck. Half my fee into the poor box. I took an oath on that as I started for Rugby Road on foot. Fred Stanley gave me the expected answer.
Just what do you find so unusual about my interest in buying old pictures, Mr. Craig?
$100 for a $1 picture doesn't make sense.
And why must it make sense?
It's a cold, practical world, chum. People generally don't go haywire with money. They conserve it.
Now, look, Craig. I collect Americana. Whatever strikes my fancy, I buy. The cost is secondary.
But you're in business to buy cheap and sell at a profit.
Technically, yes, but it doesn't work out that way. I love buying and I hate selling. A profit is rare.
That gets expensive. Where does the money come from?
That's none of your business, Craig. Now, if you don't mind, I'll terminate this interview.
I'm in no hurry.
Now, look here, Craig.
And I'm in no mood for the polite, formal approach, Stanley. Or the kind of weasel talk you've been giving me. Or being terminated.
Are you insane?
I walked away from my own murder 20 minutes ago. I came to this whistle stop against my will to do a big, good deed. And go home. I don't intend to settle here for keeps.
But what has that got to do...
You lied to me. A fancy, eccentric pose that's as phony as a ham board of an Acton Shamokin. The ship print signifies something more than just another antique. No polite, formal approach, Stanley. I'm going to pound the truth out of you.
Crazy, let me go.
Tell me about the Princess Ida ship print.
Let go. Harmony, help.
Harmony, huh? Now we're making headway. So King Kong's hired out to you.
Harmony, help.
I want you to let Stanley go.
Strapping ape like you, Harmony, you don't need a gun to take charge.
I want you to let Stanley go.
Sure, I'll let Stanley go. I was only fixing his tie.
Oh, Craig, you had no right to manhandle me, no right.
It paid off. I got to find out who was providing Harmony with his raw meat.
Harmony's with me on day hire. To do general cleaning and polishing, scrape down old furniture.
Plus prowl in attics, plus distribute garden tools shaped like claws all over town, plus take rival shots at passing cars.
You're out of your mind. You assaulted me and Harmony rescued me. Now get out of here.
Sure. But I'll be back. I'll be back, Stanley. The minute I tumble to your motive. Back at Miss Pringle's to wash up and change my suit for a whole one, I found her prized parlor rug a mess. Spots all over it. And the dog Fluff, suddenly cured of laryngitis and barking. Warm spots with a sticky feeling to the hand. Red like blood. Blood tracked in by Fluff from somewhere. I followed the tracks to Miss Pringle's bedroom. The blood was Miss Pringle's goodbye to spinsterhood. The garden tool shaped like a claw lay beside her on the floor like a third hand. Town Supervisor Samuels, aged 20 years and 20 seconds.
Craig, it's ghastly.
We'll skip the rhetoric. Miss Pringle was murdered by someone who made off with the Princess Ida.
You know that?
The picture is gone. I searched high and low.
The murder then clears Stanley and Harmony of any suspicion.
No.
But you saw them
Miss
both.
Pringle could have been murdered earlier, while I was here breakfasting with you. The Princess Ida and Old Baldy. 2 murders for 2 worthless relics.
You're convinced these relics motivated the atrocities?
It figures. The relics and somebody's lust to kill for its own sake. We're dealing with a nut to boot. Do the articles have any history?
History?
A story, some legend they figure in, say.
No, nothing I know, Craig.
Some background that could tell us why 2 hunks of junk produced 2 killings.
I'm sorry.
Is there anybody in Seneca who could know? A village librarian or a local historian?
You could ask Will Briggs. Will used to be our recorder until the town board voted to abolish the job.
Will Briggs?
Will's crotchety, bad-tempered. I don't think he'll be disposed to help you, even if he could.
Even in a town crisis like this?
Will Briggs don't feel very civic about Seneca and its problems. Since we abolished his job for economy reasons, Will's been feuding. Suing in the courts for pension, making a rumpus at town hall meetings.
Great cooperative little town you've got here. Great job you roped me into. But Will Briggs pulled a switch on Samuel's characterization of him. Briggs fell all over himself cooperating.
For $20, Mr. Craig. I am a man without funds.
$20, okay. You'll get it.
Black-hearted board of supervisors.
Did you dirt? Old Baldy and the Princess Ida. Scratch your memory.
Old Baldy and the Princess Ida. Funny now, you should be asking about them.
Why is it funny?
You're the second party that's come to me asking.
Who came first?
Old Mitchell Stanley's grandson. The one who settled himself into a shop here a spell ago. Young Fred Stanley.
What did you tell him?
What I'll tell you. If you wait. I have the record here. Yes, here it is. The sales sheet, my own writing, for that auction they held at Mitchell Stanley's once, to raise money for burying him. I was craking for the auctioneer that day.
Get to it, please.
In my time. See? It says here we sold beds and tables and floor coverings. Down here it says Old Baldy. 50 cents. Sold to Dr. Tyler. Princess Ida. $1. Sold to Miss Pringle. And the snowman sold for 75 cents.
What's the snowman?
A design on a patchwork quilt it's named for.
Who bought it?
Let me see. Sold to Adam Samuels, it says. That's the town supervisor himself.
Where's your telephone, Briggs?
Telephone? Ain't never invented it from its use to me. Keeping body and soul together as it is.
Briggs, don't bend my ears.
What's got your back up?
Samuels, your town supervisor's number 3 on the Claw murderers list.
If it's so, I say good riddance to the black-hearted.
Good riddance or bad. Someone else would have to judge Samuel's merits as a human on Earth. The garden tool, shaped as a claw, lay across the room where it had been thrown. A claw with bright red fingers. Fred Stanley resisted arrest to the last gasp. Harmony's last gasp, that is.
Craig, get out of here.
You're under arrest, Stanley.
You have no authority.
I've got a gun.
Harmony.
That 8th man comes through the door and he's dead.
Harmony.
You're asking your moronic stooge to commit suicide?
We'll see. Harmony.
One down, and Seneca's a better place for it.
You killed him.
He's only wounded. Where do you want it, Stanley?
I'll go with you.
Stanley put his confession on record after a little workout and a lot of sweating.
I found a diary that once belonged to my grandfather, Mitchell Stanley. A diary hidden behind the oak paneling over a fireplace. In the diary, 3 pieces of a map were mentioned.
A piece each hidden in Old Baldy, the Princess Ida, and the Snowman, huh?
Yes. A treasure map. The 3 pieces were to fit together into a treasure map. Through them, I'd find the wealth my grandfather was reputed to have. The wealth that never turned up when he died.
Insanity runs in the Stanley line, huh?
My grandfather's whole genius was a genius for hiding and hoarding. Hiding from the world in that awful house at the edge of the town line. Hoarding his gold. Fantastic thing like a child's treasure map was well in character with my grandfather. The shabby trick, too, was well in character with my grandfather.
What does that mean?
Well, it was all a grotesque joke. My grandfather's ghoulish sense of humor. I killed 3 people for a load of junk. There weren't any pieces of map in Old Baldy. Or the Princess Ida, or the Snowman.
That diary, Stanley. Give it to me.
Here, go hunt yourself up some treasure, Craig.
There was an anticlimax to the Stanley story. In a village beanery, with the sometime Sheriff Berkey trying to act apologetic and yet keep his dignity.
I suppose you'll be leaving now, Craig, eh?
Yeah, I can't wait to stand on Broadway and flip a cigarette into the gutter.
Well, I've been a jealous fool.
So would I be, in your shoes.
Oh, thanks. Will Briggs is coming over to see you. He says you owe him something.
Yeah. $20 for valuable services rendered.
Craig?
Briggs.
It's not out of order now.
To dun me for $20? Here you are.
I'll thank you. When we go.
Stick around a minute, Briggs. I want to go over that feud you had with the town board.
I'm over it now.
Now, with the town board extinct, now that the murders of Doc Tyler, Miss Pringle, and Samuels have left Seneca without a town board.
I'm not one to pillory the dead.
But I'm one to pillory the living. Here's that alleged Mitchell Stanley diary that produced 3 murders.
Is it now?
And this is that auction sales sheet in your own handwriting, as you told me. Do I have to tell you that the handwriting in both is the same, even down to the green ink?
Craig, what are you getting at with Briggs?
That Briggs here forged the diary, Sheriff, and planted it where young Stanley would be sure to find it. That Stanley killed 3 people Briggs hated, while Briggs sat back and enjoyed the show. That young Stanley was only a dupe, a tool used for revenge. Make the arrest, Sheriff. And then flag down a train so I can scram out of this whistle stop. The sweet neighborliness around here is just killing me. Good night, folks. See you next week.
You have been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, Diary of Death, was written by John Robert. Next week, it's the strange story titled A Time to Kill, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week, I have a wow of a time in the kindergarten when a whimsical corpse insists on playing hide and go seek. See you next week, folks.
Featured in the role of Samuels was Louis Van Ruten. Barrie Craig, starring William Gargan, was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Next, Robert Montgomery presents something different in news analysis on NBC.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
To ensure a longer life, folks, a gun in hand is worth 2 in the bush.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. There's a popular notion people have about confidential operatives. Stop any guy on the street and ask him. The notion? Steam-heated love, or, as the French say, amour. My classification of workers always got a blonde on one arm, another blonde in his lap, and a third blonde in his eye, so people think. The truth, as a matter of fact, is people are so right. Textbook biology aside, the true reason for our howling success with the ladies is our fatherly appeal. It's women looking for the male protection they missed since the carefree days of the cradle. It's the unladylike search for the strong, dominating male who knows all the answers. It's also the classic feminine urge to pin horns on the masculine cranium. I won my horns by parking overtime outside Grand Central Station. I'd gone in to see if the mayor was making good on his promise to keep the trains running on time. I came out to find a summons tied to my windshield wiper. A green ticket. The $15 variety. Ouch. In my car, I found something more had been added to liven up my humdrum existence. A Cupid doll. Painted a rainbow pink with saucer eyes, and blowing so many scents over me, I got an immediate perfume jag. Isn't there some mistake?
No.
You, didn't mistake this for public hack?
No.
Then, I'm in the wrong car?
Are you?
I'll check. Well, keys fit the ignition. The car belongs to me.
Oh, how wonderful.
But you don't.
How sad.
Funny.
Funny?
I always wonder just how the future Mrs. Barrie Craig would happen along. Run into me turning a corner? Or come to me with a letter of introduction from my Uncle Hess in Allentown?
You're disappointed it's like this.
I'm frightened.
Frightened?
My, blood pressure. 10 more points and I'm flying with the angels.
Oh, then you like me.
We'll get married and have 6 kids.
7.
7's a lot of laundry.
We'll live in the country.
I'm allergic to marigolds.
A picture wall looking out on green fields.
Comes August, I sneeze and my eyes get red.
We'll name the children Tommy.
Not all 6 of them.
7.
Oh, I did want one daughter. What will I call you when I'm hunting high and low for my cufflinks?
Cerise. And when I want help with the supper dishes?
Barrie. And when we toast marshmallows and reminisce about how we first came to meet, what should I remember?
How I hid in your car to escape the dragon.
The dragon?
A repulsive little man who follows me.
Where did he follow you from last?
Connecticut. He was on the train.
From Connecticut to my car?
Yes.
I see. Where is Mr. Repulsive right now?
Behind us.
Behind us?
In the gray coupe. He's waiting to follow us when you pull away.
I'll fix that.
Oh, no.
I'm Samson. I break heads like matchsticks.
Please, no. No violence. Nothing to spoil the fun we're having. Oh, I feel so good. Oh, I haven't felt good for such a long time.
So what do I do?
Just take me away.
With a chaperone on our tail?
You're capable and clever.
Huh. I shake guys like salt out of a shaker.
I knew you were equal to the dragon.
For every block he hangs on over 10, you can paint a zebra stripe on me. In no time, I had more zebra stripes than skin. The repulsive dragon hung on for 10 blocks, then 30 more, then through the Holland Tunnel, way into Jersey. I hung up a new highway speed record, but the gray coupe stayed in the money. Your dragon drives like he was born to the wheel.
But you're so much better.
All of a sudden, baby, I'm not so sure. I got off the highway, snaked up and down deserted side roads. I followed the moon across rocks and stumps of forest like my car was a Jeep, but the gray coupe hung on. Hung on close enough to point up the risks in my undertaking. The dragon's spitting fire at us, baby.
He's shooting at your tires.
Oh, you're wrong about the tires.
Oh, Barrie, you've been hit.
How are you going to like me with a dimpled elbow? In front of him like this, we're a nice, lush target.
Oh, you're not stopping.
I've run out of road. Dead end ahead.
Oh, we can't. Barrie, look. He's crashed.
Yeah, he has. That will teach him to shoot and drive at the same time.
He ran into a tree.
Remind me to kiss the tree. Let's go offer our condolences. Wait. I almost forgot. Got a dime handy?
A dime? Oh, yes. Here. But why?
I'm throwing it to Finnegan. For luck. It was Finnegan who made the gray coupe crash in the nick of time.
Oh.
You understand?
Yes. Finnegan's your good angel. Oh, I almost forgot, too. Let me see.
A quarter. I'm throwing it to Mrs. Rumpelheimer, my good angel.
You're growing on me, baby. No question about it. You're really growing on me. The gray coupe was telescoped like an accordion. Getting the unconscious dragon out of the wreck was like breaking into a sardine can with your fingernails. An owl kept applauding the show. A vest pocket dragon, small hands and dainty feet, and the emaciated look of a guy who went hungry Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
How badly hurt is he?
He could be worse. He could be dead. Contusions. When he comes to, he's going to hate that word.
Your elbow.
Only a nick that can wait. Buster here is really emergency. I've got to get him to a hospital.
But...
If he keeps bleeding, the dragon will change to a zombie right in front of us. Contusions weren't half the medical jargon.
The patient's in an oxygen tent, Mr. Craig.
What's the diagnosis?
Multiple injuries to the head. Conditional paralysis of the reflexes due to severe concussion.
Oh. He'll recover?
Pathologically, yes.
What does that mean?
As an aftermath of trauma, there may be psychiatric complications.
Meaning?
A memory lapse. An amnesia.
Rough. Or maybe not. Maybe it's a blessing. Maybe Buster has more he'd like to forget than remember.
His name appears to be Reuben Clark?
Yeah. That's the name on the label sewed inside his coat.
But no other identification, address, an nearest of kin?
No. As I've already said, I looked for a wallet. Oddly enough, he wasn't carrying one.
The hospital will need more information for a police report.
I've told you all I know. I was out driving with my girl and heard this crash behind me. The gray coupe, out of control, had folded against a tree. I played Good Samaritan. That's all there is. He's in your hands now, Doc, so give him the full treatment, huh? Get a perfume jag on and your brain takes to the hills. It happens to a bachelor pushing 40. That weak moment when single bliss suddenly has the feeling of solitary confinement.
Oh, you were wonderful rescuing me.
The congressional medal goes to that tree.
Do what you did for me in blind faith.
All through history, men have gone blind and boneheaded over a Cupid doll. Mark Antony, for instance. Baby, you kiss like you took a graduate course.
No man has ever risked himself for me before.
The men in your past must have been 80 and over.
I've never before had a champion.
Tie a blue ribbon around my neck and fit the dunce cap at a rakish angle.
The dunce cap?
Blind faith, you said. I could be promoting a horse laugh at myself.
Oh, no.
Then fill in a few reassuring facts.
Facts?
The delirious dragon I palmed off in a hospital, Reuben Clark, who is he?
I'm not sure.
Who do you think he is?
I think a man in the hire of my guardian.
And what's the problem with your guardian?
I don't think I want to talk about it.
It's too late for reluctance, baby. I've taken too big a bite of your life.
He's mistreated me, hurt me, kept me prisoner, confined me to my room, always under watch.
Why?
He wants to marry me. There was money, many valuable things left to both of us when my parents died.
And guardian wants all of it through marriage to you? Yes. But why run? Why not stand up to him, get to a lawyer, go to the police?
I can't. He's clever, my guardian, devilishly clever and determined.
You're in the land of the free. We pay judges to step on worms.
He threatened to have me put away if I oppose him, if I keep refusing to marry him.
What do you mean, put away?
In a sanitarium. He's bribed people, old servants, even old friends to swear that I'm mentally irresponsible.
Nice guy, your guardian.
Well, I have no way of fighting him fairly.
You've got me.
Oh, thank you so much, but I don't want to fight him.
Procrastination, baby.
I just want to hide and rest. Not think today and tomorrow. Just not think. I've been trapped in a nightmare, in a hideous nightmare.
Sure you have. It's up to your ears. You want a breather. Nothing to fret over. Just pass the time.
And have fun. Like the fun we were having.
6 kids.
7.
During this breather, where do you want to be?
Anywhere. Where only you can find me.
Okay. I know a country shack owned by a friend of mine over at Scotch Plains. It won't be in use until May 1st, and I know where the key is.
Oh, you're wonderful.
You'll be the guest of a certain Lieutenant Trev Rogers, only he won't know it. It's Rogers' shack. I'll stock you up with groceries and look in now and then. I'll take you over to it. Just one more fact to file away. Who and where is your guardian?
I'd rather not at present.
No, you can trust me. My word on it. I won't make a move until you agree to it.
My guardian is Jeffrey Foley. We live in Tuxedo Grove Heights, Connecticut.
Back in my office, I got my first real indication that boy-girl woo-hoo sometimes echoes back ow-wow. An uninvited caller. Male, 30 about, a flashy dresser and a peppermint striped shirt, gray suede gloves, and a nickel-plated revolver.
You Barrie Craig?
No.
What do you mean, no? This is Craig's office?
Was. I took over this morning. I'm a distant cousin.
Then where's Craig?
Passed away.
Croaked?
Yeah, all of a sudden at 2 a.m. this morning.
What are you giving me?
The obituary.
Into your pocket and throw your wallet on the desk. I want to check.
It so happens I'm carrying Craig's wallet to turn it over to the estate.
Where's the dame?
Dame?
You're asking for something, Craig.
Your arm will get stiff pointing that gun.
I got a heat lamp home.
Oh.
You don't want to talk about the dame, huh?
I've got a block against discussing women. I was a retarded adolescent. Want to talk about the track?
The dame.
Famous battles of history, then.
The dame.
You're a hard man to please.
Get over to the window.
The window?
Open it.
You can't throw guys out of windows.
Why not?
The sanitation code. Littering the sidewalk. You'll be socked $5 in magistrate's court.
Open the window, comedian. Now, close it.
Close it? Just what did that accomplish?
You're smart. Figure it out yourself.
I just did. Who was I signaling?
The big guy. He'll be up to talk to you. Later.
Later?
After I've softened you up. So you can talk politely to the big guy. He don't like wisecracking comedians. Now lie down on the floor.
What for?
So I can get at your head. Standing up, I can't reach you.
You are kind of short for a muscle man.
Bending over the dice all the time I was a kid grew down instead of up. So lie down, Craig. Nice, huh?
You can close the safety catch on your gun. I'll lie down nice.
Now tell me a funny story. While I work.
I awoke in a fog. A cigar fog. Clouds of strong tobacco blowing in my face. I found a face behind the cigar after a while. A moon face with a contented smile. Like men smile after dealing themselves a royal flush in spades. Hey, keep that stinkweed in my face and I'll be gassed to death.
It's fine Cuban tobacco.
But I'm no Cuban.
Let's talk, Craig.
Let's talk about the beating I survived.
My deepest apologies. The dude is a continual embarrassment to me.
The dude, huh?
I've tried to teach him moderation and restraint.
Turn him over to my teaching for 10 minutes.
All right, I will.
Joke. I don't know where I fit into your game.
I'll tell you. Automobile license number BC 100, New York. Honorary plates issued to Barrie Craig.
So?
Your automobile. I saw a certain young lady get into it yesterday. It pulled away, unfortunately, before I could formulate strategy. In pursuit, I lost the car in traffic.
So?
This morning, I identified you as the owner of the car. Where's the girl, Craig?
I don't know. She thanked me for the lift and got off at Battery Place.
I don't think so.
You'll have to take my word on it.
Temporarily, perhaps. I'm fairly resourceful at proving liars to be liars.
The dude's arm-weary right now.
I'm also a vindictive man when lied to. My one great failing.
Who hasn't got one flaw in his character?
You're, a practical man, Craig.
Is that a cash bribe developing?
A modest gesture of goodwill. $1,000?
Keep your money in your pocket.
You're not tempted?
Only curious. What makes the girl worth $1,000 on the hook?
That doesn't concern you. It had better not concern you. You're a fool, Craig. Lochinvar riding for a fall.
Who's Lochinvar?
You're championing a girl you know nothing about. Whatever she told you, Craig, you can be sure it's pure invention.
I'm only sure you're after her, and you ring counterfeit.
Craig, I warn you.
And that stooge in a peppermint shirt you use for a calling card. You don't really think you can whistle me over to your side?
All right. Hide the girl, play the hero, and the idiot. There's a keg of dynamite under you, Craig. Oh, if only you could free your eyes of stardust.
Keg of dynamite. The phrase kept repeating in my head until it gave me to Willie. How much of the truth had Cupid told me? I began to wonder. Information? Will you get me the phone number of a Jeffrey Foley, Tuxedo Grove Heights, Connecticut? Later in the afternoon, I went calling on Love. Lochinvar's here, baby.
Barrie.
With a sack full of groceries. Wax beans, salmon, fresh blueberries, vintage year bagels, enough food to keep you hiding out for a month.
Here, I'll take your coat.
Take my hat first, huh? The dunce cap.
The dunce cap?
I hate myself in it. Take it off me, baby.
Barrie, what's happened?
I tried to telephone that wicked old guardian of yours.
You tried to?
Jeffrey Foley of Tuxedo Grove Heights, Connecticut. There's no Tuxedo Grove Heights anywhere on the map of Connecticut.
I lied.
Tell me something I don't know.
But only about the address.
What's the real address?
Cranberry Hills, Pennsylvania.
Why'd you lie about the address?
I wasn't sure I could trust you. Really trust you.
Baby, come here.
I've confided in people only to have them use me, extort money, hurt me.
2 guys dropped in on me today looking for you. They barely stopped short of murder.
Barrie.
I came out here by way of Planet X to shake them. You must be quite a prize to rake 2 homicidal retrievers like my morning callers.
$1 million, Barrie. The estate my guardian is trying to steal. It's worth $1 million.
$1 million? I knew that love, when it came, would be nothing trivial, but I never dreamed it would have a Dun & Bradstreet rating. A perfumed doll cries on your shoulder, and reality drowns in a tub of tears. Cupid knew her way to my heart, like there was a neon sign on my chest saying, "Enter here." When love let go of my throat long enough, I took a half-hearted whack at confidential investigating. I did some more sneak checking on Cupid. The repulsive dragon, Reuben Clark, I wanted his version of events.
Patient has shown extraordinary improvement, Mr. Craig.
Is he conscious, Doc?
Yes.
I want to talk to him.
I don't think...
Don't think. The first story I told you, I thinned it down a little. The fact is this.
Police badge.
Uh-huh.
But,
Don't pump me, Doc. I'm engaged in Operation Top Secret. I can't give out facts until I've wrapped up the case.
Of course.
Which door do we go through? The dragon talked like a guy kicking himself around the block.
I first saw the girl on the train.
Cerise Foley.
I never knew her name.
Oh, no.
Look, let me tell it my own way.
All right, tell it.
Well, it was in the club car. She sat across the aisle from me, looking peculiar.
Looking peculiar?
A little loony, humming little ditties, then winking over to me, then laughing to herself.
Are we talking about the same girl?
Look, I'm talking about the chick you made me chase all over Jersey.
Keep talking.
Well, the way it was, I figured an easy pickup.
You're trying awfully hard for a bust on the snooze.
You asked me to tell you, and I'm telling you.
Okay, tell me.
Well, I'm a guy like any other guy. Good looker like this chick wants to be sociable, so I...
Stop embroidering it, Buster.
What'd you do, marry her or something?
You took the seat beside her. Then what?
Well, we got to talking, getting acquainted. I told her how I was a hardware salesman fresh in from Binghamton.
I don't want to know your pedigree.
Well, she told me she was Princess something or other, traveling what word am I muffin?
Incognito.
Yeah, incognito. Well, her uncle was a Maharaja somewhere, and she was here on a secret mission for him. To raise cash, she said. The Maharaja was stone broke.
You're making this up.
Well, I thought she was until I got a peek into that overnight bag she kept on her lap.
What was in the bag?
Jewels. The stuff the Maharaja sent her here to sell off. Jewels, mister. Enough jewels to make you go clean off your rocker.
Like you went?
Yeah, like I went.
Cupie confirmed the fact of the jewels.
Yes, Barry. I have jewels. Many, many jewels. Bracelets, brooches, rings. Oh, right here in my overnight bag. See?
They're real?
Why, yes, of course.
Where did you get them? I asked, where did you get them?
You're hurting me, Barry.
No phony stories about a guardian or a Maharaja. I want the truth.
I stole them.
Who from?
Jeffrey Foley.
Of Cranberry Hills, Pennsylvania?
No. Oh, he really lives in Meadow Farms, New York. I worked for Mr. Foley as an upstairs girl.
You were Foley's maid?
Yes. He was a brute. And Mrs. Foley, too. They mistreated me, humiliated me.
So you made off with a fortune in jewels?
Yes.
Baby, put your hands out nice and straight.
Put my hands out?
I'm handcuffing you and tying you up so you stay put in my absence.
Where are you going?
Away from that sweet, sappy, daffy kisser of yours so I can think. Grand larceny, baby, with yours truly accessory after the fact. I thought it over, stewed over it, and wound up telling it to Lieutenant Trav Rogers.
So love finally came to Barrie Craig.
If you have to rub it in.
What brand of smokes do you want sent to the state pen?
Give me an out.
An out like?
A deal, quietly arranged. This Foley gets his jewels back, and he doesn't prosecute.
Where's the girl and the swag now?
When I tell you, don't blow a fuse.
What's that supposed to mean?
Your shack up in Scotch Plains, where you cool off July and August.
What about my shack?
The girl's been hiding out there. She's there now.
Craig, of all the crust!
I didn't think you'd mind.
You didn't think I'd mind a common thief, and a moonstruck admirer and an accomplice. Now, Craig, you're under arrest, and so is your Cupid doll. The minute I arrive in Scotch Plains.
But it didn't end like that. As it turned out, after some nice police handling, I had a couple of new wallops, a couple of new surprises in store. The first surprise was handed me by a solemn-faced fellow wearing a white coat and a white beard, a doctor. I'd been brought to a place called Hopewell Rest, a sanitarium, by Trav Rogers.
This is Dr. Kempner, a psychiatrist. Doctor, tell it to Craig.
Yes. Mr. Craig, I'm acquainted with all the details of your curious experience with Cerise Foley, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jeffrey Foley.
Daughter? Now, wait a minute, Doctor.
Craig, hear the doctor out.
Okay.
The story of the jewels and her position as a maid were a pure fabrication, part of, shall I say, her newest hallucination.
Newest hallucination?
The young lady has been a mental patient under my care here for some time. She hallucinates many, many things. The jewels belong to her father. She merely appropriated them in this latest escapade.
Two guys who worked over me. Who were they?
I'll answer that. They were private detectives hired by the father to recover the jewels and his daughter without publicity.
They play rough for private detectives.
Their promised fee was $25,000. The fee had them a little overeager.
Cerise, she's here now, in this sanitarium?
Yes.
She is confined here.
Can I see her? Surprise number 2 added some gray hairs to the few I already had. I watched the doctor walk Cupid doll toward me. Hello, baby. The doc tells me you'll do okay, and I'm rooting for you.
Who is this man, Doctor?
I watched her stare at me blankly, stare through me, then walk away.
You see, Mr. Craig?
She looked right through me, as if she didn't know me.
She does not know you. That is another symptom in hallucinations. An element of amnesia, shall we say. She forgets the escapade and her companion in it totally.
You mean she'll never remember me? Never know me?
I mean, you must forget her. You were her good friend for a day. And now, it is another day.
You'll get over her, Craig. It'll hurt a while, but you'll get over her.
Yeah, I'll get over her. That crack you made, Trev, what was it again? Oh, yeah. Love comes to Barrie Craig. Good night, folks. See you next week.
You have been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, A Time to Kill, was written by John Robert. Next week, it's the strange story titled Motive for Murder, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week, death flies the Atlantic from Lisbon to New York. A corpse breaks the bank for $40 million, and yours truly almost sprouts wings. See you next week, folks.
Featured in the role of Cerise was Arlene Blackburn. Barrie Craig, starring William Gargan, was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Next, Robert Montgomery presents Something Different in News Analysis on NBC.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
When the high cost of living gets your nanny, folks, walk that last mile with a guy whose only gripe is the high cost of dying.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. Over the hot stove, winters, while lubricating your tonsils with a hot toddy and wondering how long to spring, freelance operatives pass the time exactly the way barbers, ball players, and bookies pass the time. They talk shop. The toughest case you ever worked, the arch criminals you've met, and the pat alibis you've ripped to shreds. Men will be kids, and you pin a medal on yourself. The medal I always cop off comes when the bragging gets around to the most dough, the most loot at stake in a case. My topper is a modest $40 million. I got the case in the back row of a 40-cent movie house over on 3rd Avenue. A Miss Briggs came looking for me, with an usher behind her throwing a spotlight on me with his flash.
Mr. Craig.
A tall lady in stiff corsets who looked like somebody's loyal girl Friday paging me.
Mr. Craig.
Sit down and enjoy a movie, Miss,
Briggs. Miss Briggs. I can't stay, thank you. You are Mr. Craig.
Red top, handsome though rugged, the outdoor look. Am I describing myself or flattering myself?
You're describing yourself, yes.
Then I'm Barrie Craig, and that's for sure. Have some popcorn.
I must talk to you, but please not here. In the lounge.
Gregory Peck will be awfully mad if I walk out on him.
Please, Mr. Craig, people are staring.
How did you corner me like this?
Jake, your elevator man. He said you were always here in the back row, taking your afternoon nap when you weren't busy.
Jake, huh? Snake in my bosom. Remind me not to confide in him so much. In the lounge, Miss Briggs dropped the case in my lap.
This cablegram came to my office today.
What's your office?
Branch Talbot, attorney at law. I'm Mr. Talbot's secretary.
Old Faithful, huh?
I've been with Mr. Talbot for only 9 years.
Oh, you're only breaking in. Miss Briggs, hire a confidential operative to meet Clipper arriving tonight. Tanglewild Airport. Check time. Talbot. What's the emergency?
My employer, Mr. Talbot, is returning from abroad, from Portugal, with a client, Floyd Spencer, Jr.
You pointed that up like I ought to know the name. Floyd Spencer, Jr. Let me think. Oh, the neochromite heir. Golden boy who inherits an industrial fortune.
Estimated at $40 million. The late Floyd Spencer, Sr. was very rich.
You're forcing me to agree. I'm vague on the background. I've got a block against heirs. All I was left was a shaving mug and a second-hand toothbrush.
The Floyd Spencer separated more than 15 years ago when the boy was 6. Mrs. Spencer lived abroad in Portugal as a voluntary expatriate. The boy was reared and educated there.
And now, with Spencer Sr. dead, she's coming home with Sonny Boy.
No. Mrs. Spencer died in Portugal some weeks ago. The boy is coming home. I mean the young man. My employer, Mr. Talbot, has been the Spencer family attorney for a very long time.
The Spencer family's now dwindled down to Floyd Jr.?
And an uncle, Uncle Stanley, the late Mr. Spencer's brother.
Why am I being hired?
Well, Mr. Talbot is worried. There were 2 incidents in Portugal.
Clarify, please.
Accidents involving Floyd Jr.
Accidents on purpose? Is that why Talbot's worried?
I believe so, yes. The estate, the size of the fortune, and young Spencer's long estrangement from his deceased parent, the long exile, as it was, well, there could be complications.
Homicidal complications, that is?
I don't want to use the word recklessly.
A nice restraint, Miss Briggs. My compliments. $40 million. That grade of cabbages doesn't always excite the best behavior in people.
This check is your retainer.
$1,500. This grade of cabbage, Miss Briggs, always excites the very best in me. A fog lay over the Tanglewild Airport like blotches of green and gray paint hanging midair. I waited on the edge of the landing field, close as I could get without risking sudden decapitation. And then when the Sky Giant sat down to unload, I changed stations and got close to the passenger walk, looking to identify Talbot from a picture Miss Briggs had equipped me with. Talbot simplified everything by identifying me.
Mr. Craig?
On the job with a bright and shining face.
I can barely see it in this miserable fog.
Where's Spencer, Jr.?
He's right behind me. Floyd, meet Barrie Craig.
How do you do? This is Paul Shandor, Mr. Craig.
Paul Shandor? Where does he fit into the party?
Don't be an obvious detective, Craig, please.
Stick your hand out, Talbot.
What for?
$1,500, your retainer. You're getting it back.
But I don't want it back.
If I'm responsible for the safety of Junior here, I want to know who's who in the party and why.
Well, Paul Shandor is my traveling companion and friend, Mr. Craig.
That answers my question. Now, introduce me all over.
Paul Shandor, Mr. Craig.
I am happy to meet you, Mr. Craig.
No offense intended, Paul. I was just being thorough.
Oh, I understand, of course. You are Floyd's protector.
And I worry about it. Golden Boy here stacks as high as the national debt. We'll wait right here until everybody's off the field and gone. After that, we'll leave through a route I've mapped out.
Craig, are these precautions, admirable as they are?
It's why you hired me, Talbot. So let's not be impatient, huh? The first pot shot of $40 million commenced as we crossed the field toward a private door in the administration building. The gunner wearing the fog for a shroud. Hit the dirt, everybody, and stay down. Who was it got hit?
I did, Mr. Craig. My leg.
Your $40 million leg. It's 20 yards to the door. Crawl toward it, everybody.
Crawl? Now, Craig,
I'm in charge, Talbot. It's crawl, infantry style. There's a killer out there making the fog work wonders for him. Stand up and you're a goner. In the administration building, Spencer Jr. got his leg wound cleaned and cauterized and a shot of penicillin to keep bacteria from getting ideas.
It's only a superficial flesh wound, the doctor says.
Thank the fog for that.
And the fog saved Floyd's life, yes, but it also enabled the assassin's escape.
If he's escaped.
If he... Well, I don't understand.
Walk with me, Talbot. I'd mapped out a route, I said. A plan, remember?
Yes.
An empty field. Then through a private door. Just our party. Once in that door, 2 airport cops were to fall in with us. Stay with us until we climbed into a waiting limousine.
That's well enough conceived. If only the assassin hadn't chosen the field itself for an ambuscade.
He wasn't always there. He got on the field after the clipper landed and emptied.
I don't follow.
Oh, in here. I had the big searchlights play over the field before we started across to the administration door.
Yes, there were searchlights for a moment.
Then 2 blinks, stop, 1 blink, to signal me everything was okay before our party started across. Our gunner sneaked onto the field through the same door we were heading toward.
But why through the same door?
Because he had to, for timing and target range. The regular field gates measure 250 to 400 yards away.
Oh, and the fog would make such marksmanship improbable.
Make it impossible.
Your stress on that same door and on the time element, it obviously has significance.
It does. It signifies Joe Potato.
Joe Potato?
Over there on the bench. I brought him out with me. Joe takes pictures with an eye for goons, creeps, and connivers. Oh, Joe, come here.
Hey, Craig, I don't want to be waiting around long. It's drafty in here. No good for my rheumatism.
Meet a friend, Joe. Mr. Talbot, Joe Potato.
Hey, I've been telling you, nix on the nickname, Craig. It ain't doing me no good socially.
Oh? What other name have you got?
Well, I like Joe the photographer. It's got advertising in it.
Oh, clever. Clever.
So let me sell you the picture already in blow, huh?
You got it developed?
I told you the box I work is automatic. It's got its own developer built in the back. Now, here's the picture. Now, give me what you promised me.
Here you are. 20.
Oh, I'm rooked in this deal. Freezing out here for hours for a lousy 20 I'll be spending on radio diathermy.
This picture, Craig, may I see it?
Sure.
You believe this fellow to be the assassin?
Tell Talbot, Joe.
Only one guy went out that private door. And that picture's him.
Police headquarters.
Trev Rogers.
Speaking.
Oh, Barrie Craig.
You sound far away. It's Alaska, I hope.
Tanglewild Airport, Long Island. Sorry.
There's a clipper leaving for Hindustan in an hour. Climb aboard it, Craig, with a one-way ticket.
There's a character in balloon pants leaving here for your office in 3 minutes. Joe the photographer.
Joe Potato.
He just changed his name.
Why are you sending him to me?
He's carrying a photograph. A face you see on post office circulars. Check it with your rogues gallery file.
What's the rap?
Hunting out of season.
The game warden's office is in Albany.
When you've got something, try phoning me at the Floyd Spencer Estate, Twin Oaks in Southampton.
Don't wait at the telephone, Craig. You'll grow a long gray beard.
So be a traitor to your police oath. What's one more killer on the loose?
Kill it. Craig, I insist.
Goodbye now.
Craig!
When Spencer Jr. dropped the anguished look from his royal kisser, I questioned him privately in my jalopy driving to the Spencer place, with Talbot and Shandor gone on ahead. I wanted information, and I also wanted the bang of being all alone with $40 million.
I'm not sure I understand your questions, Mr. Craig.
Excuse my peasant English. You're a target for murder, Sonny.
Yes, I apparently am.
There were 2 other attempts on you abroad. I want to know about them.
Well, a fall from a horse during a polo match. The stirrup had suddenly torn free. There were evidences of a knife. The straps had been tampered with.
Attempt number 2?
After dinner one night, I became violently ill. A ptomaine attack. I was rushed to a hospital.
Your food had been poisoned?
I suppose it was, yes.
Whom do you suspect?
Nobody. If I have enemies, I don't know them.
Who profits by your death?
Who profits?
The estate. Who gets it?
Oh, well, my Uncle Stanley, I suppose. He's the closest relative I have.
Is there any other information you think I should have?
I don't want to attach importance to something possibly imaginative or a pure coincidence.
Let me interpret it. You tell it.
Well, for weeks, in Lisbon, in Cairo, and later again in Lisbon, I had the feeling I was being followed and watched. I'd turn unexpectedly and see a person somewhere in the background. Always the same person.
Describe this person.
A bland face, like an Oriental's is bland. A man of dainty size, simply clothed, and wearing a fez.
A fez?
Yes, a bright red fez.
Where did you see him last?
I dislike saying this positively.
Then say it negatively, only say it.
I'm not sure, but that he wasn't on the clipper coming across. There was such a person, a face reminiscent of the man I've described, only...
Only?
Well, he wasn't wearing the fez.
Missing those ditches is like hedge hopping. You see what I see up ahead?
A barrier across the road.
A pole between two wooden horses. Not a lantern or flare to mark it.
There's a sign tacked on it.
Can you make out what it says?
Detour, road repairs ahead. The arrow points left. Would a detour left?
Yeah. Hey, this is a road like a wagon trail. Hey, how high does this climb? When do we connect back with the main road?
Well, the visibility's worse. I suggest your bright lights.
They're on, for all the good they are. Hey, we're risking our necks.
Mr. Craig, a dead end.
Dead end? It's off the mountain, you mean? Cross your fingers, I've got to crash. I came out of the concussion worrying about a tooth on the lower gum. Pushed my tongue against it, and it swung like an old-time saloon door. Damages to the car look minor. Dented grille. The hood with folds like corrugated cardboard. I stood beside the car, breathing in deep, fueling my lungs, before I remembered to worry about Spencer Jr. The kid lay unconscious on the front seat where he'd been riding beside me. Quiet, with his eyes wide open, like a guy stunned into a trance. Normal enough reaction to a car burrowing itself into a cliffside. Chafe his wrists to get the blood circulating, and he'd come to as good as new. Spencer. Spencer. Only thing, Spencer Jr. wasn't coming to, ever. I was rubbing the wrists and patting the cheeks of a dead man. I determined the cause of death by tracing a trickle running down his cheek. Trickle of blood that bounced off his collar and soaked into his clothes. A head injury over the ear. But it hadn't come from the crash. The real cause of death had a touch of voodoo. Floyd Spencer Jr. had been shot in the head. I tried starting the car without any luck. My jalopy would need towing. That is, if a tow car would dare up the old wagon road. I was standing around keeping a corpse company and wondering how to get both of us back to civilization when the Fez rode into the picture. A car tuning its horn and shimmering its lights up the old wagon road toward me. I watched the car door open and a Fez pop out. Bland face like an Oriental's, a man of dainty size, just as Spencer Jr. had described him.
Your car is disabled?
Your eyesight's better than that. It crashed.
Yes, now I see. And your companion, where is he?
Dead on the front seat.
Dead? From so small a collision?
Dead from a bullet in his brain.
So?
Who are you?
Marcel Surac.
How did you come to be tagging up here?
In pursuit of you, of course.
What detained you? I've been admiring the landscape up here 15 minutes at least.
I lost contact with you on the detour.
The phony detour, the way I figure it now. Somebody rigged that detour to send me up a mountain that spiraled to a dead end.
Yes, the detour was, how do you say, manufactured. I examined it.
I didn't. I still want to know how you caught up with my party way up here.
Your tire tracks.
In the pitch dark with headlights swallowed up in mists?
I am very expert in scientific pursuit.
Yeah, I heard. Cairo, Lisbon. And on the Clipper without your fez. You stayed closer to the late Spencer Jr. than his skin. Why?
For the present, I do not care to divulge.
Change your mind, mister. The kid was murdered while we both lay unconscious after that crash. Someone waited up here for a free shot at the kid if I miraculously kept the car from going over the cliff. He was in my care and I flopped. I fell for the detour gag. Now talk or I'll tear you apart.
It is so very foolish. Force will not succeed.
It won't, huh? Let's see if you're right.
You are so very foolish.
No!
Force will not succeed, I am pleased to remind you.
That fancy flip that sent me sailing. What's the trick?
Jiu-jitsu. I am the finest exponent of jiu-jitsu in the world.
Oh, let's have another go at it.
No, this time I will shoot you.
A gun, huh?
You are under arrest, Mr. Craig.
Come again?
I am a confidential investigator.
You're a confidential investigator?
Licensed by the governments of Egypt and Portugal. In my pocket, I have credentials and a letter of introduction to your authorities.
What's the charge against me?
Murder. I am sure that you have murdered the young man Floyd Spencer Jr. Please to enter my car.
Sure. In a minute.
Please, now.
I gotta tie my shoelace. Okay. Tied it. Oh! I'm the foremost pitcher of rocks in all of the boroughs in greater New York, except Brooklyn. After frisking Surak and studying a flock of papers he kept in what looked like a diplomat's wallet, I turned him over to the New York police, credentials and all.
It's an official case now, Craig, of public concern, too big for you to dominate.
What's your verdict on Marcel Surak?
He is what he says, a confidential investigator.
Detailed by whom?
The authorities in Lisbon. I've checked by transoceanic telephone. Those 2 attempts on the Spencer Air were an embarrassment to Portuguese officialdom. As an official gesture, they assigned Surak to watch over the boy, protect him, perhaps discover who was plotting against him.
How is Surak?
In Fullersham Hospital, recovering from a broken head. You really beat him.
A reflex reaction. He threw a gun on me. Did you identify that picture Joe the photographer brought you?
I did. Wally Mavis, a Detroit import. He was a killer for hire.
Did you say was?
Distinctly.
Don't tell me.
Mavis was found dead at the foot of a cliff by state troopers. An automobile wreck.
Foot of a cliff? You couldn't be referring to the cliff I almost went off.
Mavis took the same arranged detour you did, only didn't have the wheelsmanship at the dead end.
Mavis muffed killing Spencer Jr. in the airport fog, so...
So his employer shut him up forever.
His employer, huh? Trav.
Yes.
The hired killer, Wally Mavis. Has news of his death gotten out yet?
Gotten out?
To the press, over the radio, to John Q. Public.
Well, no, it hasn't, I don't think. Mavis was identified hardly an hour ago.
Keep it like that. Mum, undisclosed. Wally Mavis wasn't shut up. He's in the police hospital. He survived the wreck.
I see your scheme.
I'm so glad you do. Just don't gum it up, huh? The ancestral home of the Spencers, Twin Oaks, had the usual high stone fences and baying hounds. Inside, at long last, I got to meet Uncle Stanley.
Where is my nephew, Mr. Did you tell me your name now?
3 times. Outside the door, at the door, and in the vestibule.
Oh, so you did. You're Mr. Howard.
Craig.
Well, my nephew was coming with you, the lawyer Talbot said. Now, where's my nephew?
In the morgue.
The morgue, did you say?
I said. He's dead. He was murdered.
Oh, now was he?
Is that all the reaction?
Huh? Oh, what did you say now?
I said, where's the reaction? You lost a favorite nephew.
Favorite? Oh, the boy was no favorite of mine.
I noticed.
15 years in that foreign land and coming home now to steal what belongs to me. Where did you say he is now, did you say, huh?
Taking in a movie. Where's Talbot and Paul Shandor?
Sitting in the library. The boy's no favorite of mine. 15 years in that foreign land, and now he comes home.
In the library, Talbot managed a look that said he'd like to see me boiled in oil.
You were criminally derelict, Craig.
I fell for a phony detour.
Young Spencer was entrusted to your charge, and now he's dead. Any excuses don't stand with me.
Is that a threat, too? Who engineered young Spencer's murder?
Well, how should I know?
Try to guess. I'm staying with this case until I nail the murderer, Talbot.
Neochromite.
What about neochromite?
It's the keystone to the entire Spencer fortune. An industrial synthetic more revolutionary than plastics. It's the bellwether of the stock market. Shrewd traders have made fortunes in its market rise. Shrewder traders have made greater fortunes in its market fall.
Too complex for me. Where's the motive for murder in neochromite?
I'm speaking hypothetically, mind you. Floyd Spencer Sr. kept iron control of neochromite. Spencer control was jeopardized when he died.
And Spencer control is over with young Spencer's murder. Is that the idea? Neochromite becomes a free-for-all?
Yes. There are literally scores of manipulators who can profit by young Spencer's death.
Scores of murder suspects.
The stakes are beyond imagination.
Suppose now we limit our imaginations to Uncle Stanley. Only hypothetically, mind you. What's Uncle's state of mind?
Feeble. You've talked to him.
How about his state of energy?
Energy?
To hire a professional killer, then go it alone and rig a phony detour sign. Then hide out on a mountaintop and fire a bullet into his nephew's brain. It takes energy and zip and muscle. Also some mental coordination. Does old Uncle add up to it?
Oh, possibly. He's spry enough, remarkably active, in fact, for his age, and charged with hatred.
Hatred?
Hatred for the wife and mother who deserted his brother, the late Floyd Spencer Sr. Hatred for the boy come home to usurp a fortune.
A nice try, Talbot.
What did you say?
I said a nice try. Scores of suspects, generally, and a mentally defunct uncle specifically. A nice try. To make the situation beautifully confused, but it won't work.
Just what nonsense is this, Craig?
The hired killer. The one knocked off as a precaution because I'd connived a photograph of him. I'm referring to Wally Mavis, brought in from Detroit. He didn't die, Talbot, as scheduled.
Therefore?
Nice acting. Nice facial control. You'd be an Academy Award bet in pictures if you weren't going to the electric chair.
Craig, you lost your mind. I won't stand here and listen to you.
Then you lie here. Mavis survived the car wreck. He lived to confess who hired him. The last I heard, Mavis talked 28 pages of police evidence. On page 1, he named you.
But Mavis named me?
He spelled your name out big. He swore you hired him to murder Floyd Spencer, Jr. An old psychological police trick with a beard like Rip Van Winkle's. But how it worked. Talbot was too much of an amateur in murder to smell out the trick or hold off from singing out his guilt in a voice that started out baritone and ended falsetto. Trev Rogers motored himself over to Twin Oaks for some postmortems.
So Talbot had looted the Spencer estate and was afraid of an accounting.
Check. An accounting. Forced by young Spencer, and Talbot would go to jail. Talbot wanted time, lots of time. He hoped to make good his theft from the Spencer estate through neochromite.
Buy cheap. Profit by the confused market reaction created by the murder of the Spencer heir.
Mm-hmm.
Buy cheap, then sell high.
That's the whole story. Hiring me was a camouflage, a screen to hide behind.
Not very clever. In my book, hiring you made Talbot a prime suspect.
In my book, too, right from scratch. So let's not brag.
Too bad about young Spencer. 21 with $40 million. The whole wide world his for the taking. Kind of a sad end for him.
Don't shed tears, Trav, for the wrong corpse.
The wrong corpse?
Take a gander at this snapshot. I found it on Marcel Serac when I frisked him.
Huh. It's a picture of young Spencer's traveling companion, Paul Shandor.
There's a spitting of rust on your mental machinery, Lieutenant.
Say, wait a minute.
Paul?
Yes, Mr. Craig.
Marcel Serac wasn't interested in a Paul Shandor. His assignment was Floyd Spencer, Jr.
Yes, of course.
I guess this snapshot Serac carried on him to be Floyd Spencer, Jr. As a matter of fact, I guess you to be Floyd Spencer, Jr.
Yes. I am Floyd Spencer.
You changed identities with Paul Shander?
Yes, in Lisbon, before Mr. Talbot's arrival. It was Paul's idea to cheat cheaters, he said. To ensure that I lived.
Quite a beau geste. To do what he did for you. Laying down his life for a friend.
Paul was a beau geste. All through him, Lieutenant. He was a man I could never be. We made a bargain when we exchanged identities.
What was the bargain?
That if he lost his life, I would lose my fortune.
Lose it how?
Give it away. Befriend the world was how Paul put it.
And will you?
I'll try to keep to my bargain. I, too, want very much to be a beau geste.
$40 million. And, brother, does this sad old world need befriending? Good night, folks. See you next week.
You've been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, Motive for Murder, was written by John Robert. Next week, it's the strange story titled Murder in Mink, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week, I meet a girl who has lost a mink coat, a man who has lost his head, and a corpse which has lost its life. See you next week, folks.
Featured in the role of Talbot was Arnold Moss. Barrie Craig, starring William Gargan, was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Next, Robert Montgomery presents Something Different in News Analysis on NBC.